grey area with myself, Sarah Garvey, and the woman who currently has the internet in a chokehold. It is JustPearlyThings.
Thank you, Sarah.
We have got a great show for you today. Grey area with myself, Sarah Garvey, and the woman who currently has the internet in a chokehold. It is
Blessing. I think
don't
you gotta.
worry about it.
Blessing, you gotta.
We have got a great show for
You gotta
today.
exit off.
You heard today, guys. As you can see from the title, it is Virgins versus Holds. But before we even get started,
Tell them.
you know what I'm saying, Pearl?
Tell them.
If you have watched 2 or more of our videos,
How many?
and you have not subscribed, then we have what, Pearl?
Beef.
What have we got?
Beef.
Exactly. So you better get doing that right now. Over to you, Pearl.
Okay, guys, a couple quick announcements before we get started today. The first being that we have 2 clips channels. The first being Just Pearly Clips and Pearl Daily, where we just hit 50K on Just Pearly Clips. And we just hit 10K on Pearl Daily. So go subscribe to both of those. The links are in the description. We have different editing styles on both. On top of that, we have 4 membership tiers. The first being you're able to be a part of our chat today. The second being you get to see our behind the scenes vlog of the penthouse, which is pretty cool.
It is nice. It's very nice.
We're filming that Saturday, so that should be out this week. The third being you get to connect with us on social media, and the fourth being you get a one-on-one call with me once a month. On top of that, subscribe because we're just about to hit 350K. Follow my Instagram. I'm almost at 50K on there. That's just.pearlythings. And DM Eddie if you want to come on the show.
And they couldn't get rid of you on TikTok.
On TikTok. Yeah, okay. They took away my first account on TikTok. They took away my second account on TikTok. They took away my third account on TikTok. But I just hit 100K on JustPearlyThings.4 in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks.
You can't get rid of me.
You can't get rid of Pearl, guys.
And in case they do take away that account, because they might, follow JustPearlyThings.5. That's like because I am on my final warning on that account. So you know.
We have got a great show for you today. We have got some guests, as you guys can already see. So we're gonna go around and you all introduce yourselves. Tell us your name, your age, your relationship status, and a fun fact about you. We'll start this side.
Hello, my name is Simona. I'm 23. I am single, and my band and I are about to release our first single in October. So,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you guys should listen to that.
Oh, that's so fun. What kind of music?
It's rock music, like alternative rock.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, the hair and whatnot.
You?
Oh, I'm Jamie. I'm 35, a bit old. I don't have a fun fact about me. I came really unprepared for
It's
this.
all right. What do you do? What do you love doing?
What do I love doing? Gardening.
Gardening.
Yeah,
He's a gardener.
yeah. But for work, I build scaffolding.
There you go. That's a fun fact.
Hi, I'm Abby. I'm 27 and single, and I'm a fun accountant. That's my fun.
She's putting the fun back into accounting, guys.
Yeah.
Right on. My name is Luis Mercado. I've been a YouTuber for a while. I'm just retired as of like 2 weeks ago, so I'm officially retired.
Cool. I'm Justin Marc. I also do YouTube. I'm a dating coach on YouTube, and I'm also a club promoter. 27 years old.
Nice.
Hi, I'm Nina. I'm 32 years old, and I put the fun back in fundraising.
There you go. She's got bars too, guys. Okay. Whether you guys have seen our content or not, there is a fact that we speak about quite a lot. And the fact is 1 in 3 men haven't had sex in the last year and or are virgins. So, do you think it is easier for a man or a woman to lose their virginity?
Definitely easier for a woman to lose her virginity.
Yeah,
Yeah?
by far.
Expand.
I mean, a guy has to, like, a girl can literally just raise her hand and, say who wants to do it with me, and a bunch of guys will flock her way.
She kind of just has to show up, right? Guys actually have to put in a lot of work to get laid in general, but to go from like kissless virgin to losing your virginity and having a girl like you is a bit of a process.
Do you think it's easier for women, would you say, Abby?
Yeah, but I think also it depends on your attractive level.
So do you think that women losing their virginity depends on their attractiveness? You get an ugly guy and an ugly woman. Who's more likely to lose their virginity?
It's hard. It's because obviously how attractive you are is subjective, but I feel like typically attractive women are obviously going to lose it really easily. But women who aren't your typical, so like, I don't know, if you're maybe overweight or not your, like what your typical idea of good looking is, then obviously it's going to be harder, which might be on the same level as, I don't know, I can't explain it.
Okay. You think men will find it harder to lose their virginity?
Well, I think men would find it hard to lose.
Or women, yeah.
I think like I'm a 35-year-old male and I haven't thought about losing my virginity since I was in my teenage years.
Was it hard for you?
No, like
Really?
no, not at all. Like it was just a natural process of becoming an adult. Yeah, like the whole concept to me is quite foreign. That this is.
Was talking to women always easy for you? Because some guys say they like really struggle with it.
No, not really. No, it's like
it was always easy for you
to talk to women.
Yeah, some guys it's like not natural to them,
which is understandable.
Yeah. I mean, I think it can be intimidating.
It can be, but like, no, it wasn't for me. I grew up in quite a family with quite a lot of female, with a lot of female influence, and yeah, I've never ever struggled to talk to women. So.
What do you think?
I would say it would be easier for women to lose their virginity just because women are probably more selective about who they sleep with and men are less because they just kind of want to get laid.
But then if you're more selective, wouldn't it be harder?
Generalized. Well, if you're more selective.
Yeah, if you're more selective, wouldn't it be harder?
Well, no, because you can afford to be selective when you have more options, I guess, if that makes sense. Because more women are more selective, so men, generalized.
So you think women have more options than men?
I think men are more willing to overlook certain things in order to have sex, whereas women won't always do that. So women would be more selective in a lot of senses. They have, I guess, more, I don't want to say standards. It's not about standards, but just kind of what they would want to look for.
Boundaries.
Boundaries. Yeah, that's a good word for it. 100%.
So women have more boundaries, you said?
Yeah, I would say that there.
Speaking to the man.
Sorry, I would say that there is a need for women and people generally, but women to have boundaries, in order to not fall prey and trap to labels and titles that come with being promiscuous. I think that there's a medal behind virginity that men kind of want to hold. It's like, oh, I've lost my virginity. I want to tell everyone about it. I don't feel like there's that much of a medal behind it for girls. It's not like, oh, let me put a pin in this because I won. I think it's less of a, there's not so much incentive for women to lose their virginity. Whereas men, I feel like there's more of a, come on, you should do this, come on, you should do this, come on, you should do this. And there's a lot of toxicity behind that, as well as like ego that surrounds the label virginity as well.
So you think that there's more pressure on women or men to lose your virginity?
On men.
I would say on men.
You think it's on men?
Yes.
So when you were like at school, when you were younger, like, because I mean, I remember me being at school and there was like, you're still a virgin. Oh my God, you're still a virgin. Oh my God, what you still doing a virgin? And I think a lot of the time, guys got to the point where they would just lie about having lost their virginity. Like, so you didn't have the same thing as a woman?
No, and I wouldn't say that. I think it's really sad that anyone feels like they have to lie about something in order to be accepted within like peers and friend groups. And I don't feel like there was that sort of title that comes with losing your virginity in a female. I went to an all girls school, and I don't feel there was any of that where I was at school.
So even at an all girls school, there was no pressure.
No, I didn't.
Did the girls not come in and say, "Look, I lost my virginity"? Yeah. Did they not do that?
Yeah, we did that.
Right. Okay.
But there was certainly no pressure to do that. There was no like, when are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? It was a moment of pride as and when it happened. But I don't think it was something that, I don't think it was a necessity.
Right.
Like, I feel like, because I went to Catholic school, and I just feel like people didn't really care either way as a girl. Like, if you did, cool. If you didn't, cool. Like, yeah.
Were you looked down upon in your school if you did lose it?
No, but it was like hot gossip.
Right. Okay.
Like, I went to a small Catholic school. And so, like, if you heard that someone, because not a lot of people really were. I know the stereotypes with Catholic schools, but mine was more like innocent. I don't know.
What's the stereotype? I don't know. Tell us, Belle. What stereotypes?
You've never heard that? Like, they always say like Catholic schools are crazy, and I'm sure they are. Like some of them, but mine was like not like that. I don't know.
I mean, in my experience, church girls have probably been the freakiest girls I've ever had sex with. I won't lie.
I know that it's like I would just say it was kind of similar to like a small town where like if something happens, like everyone's talking about it.
So you see, like with virginity, do you guys think that when like talking about like your experience, Pearl, do you think like there's the pressure to lose your virginity creates a curiosity that just makes you want to do it? Is that what happened at your school?
No. I mean,
No.
I would say maybe more for men, but not as much for women, I would say. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think like virginity nowadays is looked up on with ridicule if you're a virgin?
Definitely.
Guys,
Yeah.
For a guy or girl?
anyone.
No.
Or both, either or.
I mean, I would say
Speak on it.
for a guy, yeah, it's kind of a little weird. You call them incels. But I would say for a girl, if she's 21 and she actually is a virgin, I think a lot of guys would probably not believe her, but if they know that to be a fact, they'd probably find that like really attractive.
You think so?
Yeah.
You think a virgin girl is attractive?
I mean, I think if a girl's attractive, she's attractive.
I'm saying, do you think it's attractive to a man?
I would say so.
You were going to say something. You were like, nah.
No, I'm not saying what he said wasn't right about a guy finding that attractive if she was 21 and a virgin, but I think all my friends lost their virginity like at like 14 or something, 15, and then I remember I lost my virginity like a couple of days before my 18th, and I definitely felt like no one directly pressured me, or my friends weren't like, oh, go and do it, but it was kind of like you did feel like a ticking time bomb, because it did feel a little bit like when everyone's doing one thing, if you're doing something different, you feel a bit weird. So it's like when I was coming up to my 18th, it did feel like I was getting to the weird stage.
Oh, really? You felt?
Yeah, I
you
felt
feel
like
awkward, like you have to get it done.
Yeah. But I can't put my finger on where that come from. I guess it's just the norm.
Because the average age of people losing their virginity is actually around 17.
Oh, okay. See,
Like
compared to like everyone I know, that's really late.
Do you wonder if those numbers are based on like an older generation? Because I just hear stories from my younger sisters about like their friends.
Tell us the stories, Pearl.
No, I'm not talking about anything with minors.
Sorry.
No,
sorry.
No. But there's just wild stories when they're doing stuff where like at a much younger age, it seems like, than the older generation.
So you think there's more pressure on like the younger generation to lose it?
And I don't even know if it's pressure. I just think they're wilder. Like, I just think they're exposed to more younger. And I think that like my mom's generation would say that about my generation.
Right.
Like it seems like every generation is just getting wilder and wilder and wilder. So a lot of times, like when I see the stats, it's always based on like 5 to 10 years ago. And I'm like, it's a whole different group of kids.
So I remember when I was going to lose my virginity, I'm not even going to lie, as a guy, like I prepared. Because like you, as a guy, you kind of prepare. Like you know what's going to happen. I knew the day. I had my girlfriend. She had already had sex. I hadn't. But I'd never told her that, obviously, because I was experienced. And like you just prepare for it. Like was that the same? Was it something that you kind of fell into, or was it something that you prepared for?
For me personally, I fell into it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't a preparation. It was
Talking
just,
to the mic.
sorry. It wasn't, I didn't prepare for it as you said.
Yeah.
But it just happened organically.
You guys, did you prepare?
I definitely prepared for like a month, like mentally and like spiritually, absolutely prepared. And like in my case, it was very similar to what you're saying. Is I didn't want to be the only one in my friend group who was a virgin, so I just found the first girl who had a crush on me, and like just begged her to let me hook up with her, and she was super into me. So she's like, "Yeah, totally," and I prepared for it, right? Because talking to women was never easy, right?
Right.
And so yeah, it definitely was something I had to prepare for.
How do you prepare for this? If you don't
You
mind.
light candles?
Like,
What
is
happens?
it? Do you get some condoms and
Watch YouTube tutorials, buy condoms.
Is that?
Like look for advice on, and this is like over a decade ago, right? So this is like, it was a long time ago, and I was just trying to mentally prepare for the most part, and
Did it help?
definitely. I had no idea what I was doing. I just like stuck it in, just waited for something to happen. I was just confused. I was just very, very confused.
Has it got better?
Definitely.
Did you have to prepare over there? Did you have to prepare?
I'm not married, so I couldn't tell you guys.
Oh, you're a virgin still. He's a virgin. We got a virgin on the show.
No, I don't know if I like prepared, but it kind of just happened. But I already kind of was wanting it to happen. Actually, the very first time I had the option to do it, I couldn't make it happen. I was like too nervous, and the girl was older than me. She wanted to, and I just couldn't.
Right.
Not being descriptive here, but I just couldn't get hard. I was like too nervous. I was really young.
Yeah.
Like really young.
How young?
Really young. I think I was like a freshman in high school.
I don't know how old that is over here. 14?
No, I was like 12 or 13.
What the hell?
12?
Yeah, girls had crushes on me when I was young. And then, but yeah, it wasn't until later. It was probably like a year and a half, 2 years later after that.
Wow.
So 15.
I grew
Like,
I grew up in a different world.
12 and 13, I was just like thinking about like computer games and shit.
don't know.
I was trying to get laid at that age.
Really?
See,
Go on, bro.
we go to Catholic school, and I feel like the girls would feel guilty, like after if they lost their virginity. To be honest, like just in my friend group, I guess.
So
Because
that's what. Go on.
I definitely did, because I was older. I was definitely the last one in my friend group, but like I felt so guilty because I felt like God was like mad.
He's still mad, bro.
I know.
He's still mad. So that pressure at 12, so I just want to kind of flesh that out. Like, where do you think that came from? Like, where did it? Because to me, a 12-year-old would be thinking about different things other than sex.
I was probably like 13. She was a junior, so she was probably like 15 or 16. She was just like an older girl to me. Like a year or two makes a difference in high school,
Right.
you know? And then she's already done it. She was experienced. I wasn't.
So she was like 14.
She was probably like 15 or 16, I'd imagine.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. You've just never done it. You're nervous. You hear about it. You see all these adult films when you're a kid. You're like,
Yeah.
Back then, actually, we didn't have the internet. Like, I'm 34. I forgot to mention earlier. But I remember like when we were in elementary school, someone found this adult magazine from their dad, and they ripped out a page. So we used to have to walk home from the bus stop, and there was like this desert where we'd hide this one picture, just a still picture of a girl with her boobs. And like we were all like young kids staring at this thing, and we'd hide it back under this rock, throw dirt on it, and like we'd stop by there like every day to look at it.
So do you think like your introduction to like losing the virginity was
Probably not healthy.
something like that? Like, because I think a lot of guys, like even me, like I was introduced to like a corn videotape when I was like 13, and it blew my mind.
This is so young to me. I'm like, this is like sad.
No, literally, like I had a friend, and he was at his house, and he was older than me. He was like 15. I was like 13, and he knew that his mother had like a corn video. That's VHS times. Like she had like a VHS, and he was like, guys, there was like 3 of us, and I was like, guys, I'm going to show you something, and he put the tape on, and at 13, that literally blew my mind.
Yeah, one of the greatest days of my teenage life was finding my dad's corn stash. Like everything changed.
So I have a question for the guys. Would you want to marry a virgin?
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's not the end all thing, but if it's if I found the girl and I was gonna like her regardless, I mean, then yeah, that's just I would say it's a plus.
Would you guys be willing to like wait then till you're married to sleep with her?
Ooh,
Because like
Yeah.
that's usually what comes with a virgin.
Yep.
Like if she's usually waiting. So like typically, like my friends that were virgins when they got married, like the dude dated them for a year and a half, then they got married. So he didn't do anything with anyone else for a year and a half.
That's an interesting question because, like, personally, I just don't think marriage is advantageous. I'm from Canada, right? And
Right.
so the family court system there is just not in the benefit of men. So I just don't believe in marriage. But I think my ideal partner that I want to like kind of like emotionally, spiritually settle down with, you know, ideally would have a lower body count.
What if maybe marriage? It doesn't have to be like marriage in the church.
Sure.
Because like those girls typically want to get married in the church.
Sure. Yeah, I mean,
Would you be willing to wait like a year and a half to be with that girl?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
are you being honest though?
See,
So you're not gonna have
Don't
sex?
say stuff for the internet, bro.
if it was like an open relationship dynamic and I can hook up with other girls in the meantime, then totally.
No, that's not how it
No,
works.
that's not how it works, bro.
That's not.
You have
That's
to
just
be like a
realistically
year
how it's
no
gonna
sex.
go, though.
No,
That's impossible.
The only, yeah. Like, okay, the only reason I ask is because a lot of guys like say they want virgins, but I don't think they want what would come with it. And I know a lot
Right.
of girls that are virgins and did wait till they were married, like because I went to Catholic school and just like different churches I've been involved in. I'm like, I don't think a lot of the guys that say they want virgins would do the stuff they'd be like they would want.
I mean, talk about your ex-girlfriend
Yeah.
if you can.
Yeah, talk about your ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, my ex-girlfriend was a virgin when I met her.
Okay.
So it's not like
And is she still a virgin?
no, I took that.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm kind of on board with what Justin was saying about the whole marriage system. Like, I'd want to do it in the church for her, and have the big party, and give her the memories and whatnot. But in terms of like actually signing a legal binding contract to a government, that doesn't really interest me too much.
Yeah. No, I agree. I don't think it's advantageous for men. Like, if I was a guy, I probably wouldn't want to get married.
Mm. But it's interesting that what you say about guys wanting a virgin, but not being willing to wait for the virginity. Like, that's like,
Yeah, a year and a half sounds like a long time.
it does.
That
Like,
means we'd have to bump that marriage up.
but do you think that's because you've experienced sex already?
Probably.
Mm.
Yeah, so now you know what it is.
You know what you're going to be missing, right? Yeah. And I think that's a lot of what, because remember last show we had Linda on and she was a virgin. And I was actually speaking to her after the show, and it's just interesting the way guys are. Like if we speak at statistics, right? And marriages often work out if the two people that get together in a marriage are virgins.
Yeah. It's like the highest success rate is when they're both virgins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if one has already experienced sex and the other one hasn't, the marriage is less likely to work out.
Yeah, I believe that.
Mm.
That makes sense.
Why are you laughing?
Sorry, because that makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Oh, really? Why?
Tell me why.
Because why would you even I wouldn't even consider someone how many if someone's a virgin or not. If I don't bump into any of you and say, hey, are you a virgin?
No, but when you're getting to know somebody, you would ask a question, no?
Why?
You don't want to know if the woman that you're with is a virgin or she's had sex with 100,000 men? Like,
So you would marry a girl that had sex with 100 guys?
Why is a number that's a completely abstract concept to me.
do you want to talk about pair bonding, bro?
No, it was because I only discovered who you were yesterday, and even the idea of pair bonding is intriguing to me because it's a completely foreign concept.
Okay,
Something
yeah,
I've
go on.
never
Well,
even
it's just-
considered in my entire life.
Yeah, it's just basically like the more partners that a girl has, the more people she compares him to, typically. And it makes her less satisfied with the guy she's with. So, for example, if a girl is a virgin when she's married, she has an 80% chance of having a happy marriage after 10 years. Where if she slept with more than 5 people, it drops to a 30% chance.
How are you ascribing these statistics to that? How do you possibly prescribe an 80% statistical
So
chance.
so
to
they
that.
survey the people later. So like how many people had you slept with when you got married, and then later they come back and ask if they're happy.
So are they reducing that to just sex and saying that the reason the women are comparing them to the past men is specifically because of sex? They've
Well,
slept with
okay,
men,
they
so they're
don't
comparing them sexually?
they don't say in the study that it's because they compare. So I should say that's just like based on like my talking to people. It's just based on how many partners they've had. So it drops down to 25%.
It's just very Homer Simpson telling Kent Brockman that like 40% of all people can make up statistics. Like,
So you don't see
Right.
you don't see the sense in it. So if you think that somebody has experienced 100 men, for instance,
Yeah.
if a woman's experienced 100 men,
yes.
and then you're 101,
yeah.
you don't think that those 100 men would she won't think about one of those 100 men and not you.
Of course she would. But
Right, exactly. So that's
but it's complete. It's a fallacy. It doesn't it's not a comparable statistic.
Well, of course it is, because do you know what an alpha widow is?
A what? Sorry?
Alpha widow.
An alpha widow.
Yeah. So a lot of women. Go on, Pearl. You'll explain it better than I would.
Well, it's basically like women like to be with the guy that's the best that they can get. And like they want to feel like they're with the best that they can get. And the problem is if a girl has a guy that's at a certain caliber and then she goes on to date somebody else and she sees him as settled. So a lot of times women sleep up and then the person that they marry isn't who they actually want.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's like accounts of like even there's Reddit threads of like girls talking about how they, married one guy and they missed their husband. Or not, sorry, they missed their ex-boyfriend from college or whoever it was.
But why does sex or how many people they've slept with determine that? Wouldn't it be other factors
Yeah,
like
who's
how they were
setting
treated in
these-
the relationship or how the
It's not
relationship
only
was?
you're right.
So-
It's
not only
it's not
sex.
only sex,
But they have had sex with them.
if you've had 100 guys,
But not all of those are going to be substantial relationships. Not all those are going to be comparable to, say, the person
You're
you're with,
right.
right? If it's
You're
one
right.
specific person,
You're
it's
right.
no different for one person sleeping with one person and comparing that to that person, right?
could you explain that more?
Say if they had only slept with, say, like 5 people before they met the person they
Yeah.
married, right? Regardless of whether they slept with 100 or 5, there's still that one boyfriend that they'd compare to.
You're actually
what I mean?
you're actually correct with that. It's not necessarily only about the number. Like if the first person you slept with was Michael B. Jordan, I think it's going to be hard to live up to that if that's your first boyfriend.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily about the number, but when you go up to 100, it's like the more chances of there being a guy that you can't live up to,
I think
increases.
I think if women are actually honest, they all know that one guy in their head that they probably won't say. There's that one guy that they know who we're actually talking about. I don't know who he is, but you do.
I think it's depending on how you view your past relationships. For me, there's no one in my life I would really want to go back to because I understand why it didn't work out and it didn't work out for specific reasons. And I'm not, quite frankly, that person anymore. And I also think it's dependent on the circumstances of how women are sleeping with these different men, right? If they're not entering into emotional commitments or, why they're sleeping around, these sorts of things, and then they change the headspace that they're in, then I don't think body count has an impact on who their future partner might be based on just self-awareness.
So question, what value does more bodies bring to a guy?
Does it have to bring value?
Yeah, no, I'm saying,
But that's
I'm
what
saying,
I'm saying.
I'm saying when a girl, men are biologically predispositioned to be attracted to purity and youth.
What do you mean by that?
What?
Like
do you mean by
throughout
that?
all of history, like the most powerful men had concubines of virgins.
Right.
But
Like so that's what I'm
Is-
saying. You
is-
can't.
isn't
I'm
that-
saying. I'm
such
saying.
as-
I'm,
say
I'm
that's-
saying you
sorry.
can't. I'm saying
Such
you can't.
as
I'm-
Genghis Khan.
Yeah, but I would attribute that to the
Genghis
claiming
Khan.
of power. They want to
Genghis Khan?
claim
I know
power
exactly
over
what
submissive
you're saying.
female, and
Wait,
typically that's
guys.
going
Hang
to
on,
I
one
need,
sec.
it needs
Sorry.
to be one at a time.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I would say that would be attributed to men wanting, or people in those positions wanting, claiming as much power as possible. And the most power you can have is over a submissive, pure female, right? It doesn't necessarily.
Right, but I'm saying like they're attracted to youth and purity, and they can't undo that.
But that's a power-based mindset, right? And that power is what we kind of crave through a survival mindset, right? When we're trying, the person who has the most power is the most likely to survive, right? And so when we're in that frame of mind, that makes sense. But that's not the world that we kind of really live in anymore. It's not really based around survival. It's not based around this calling for power. I don't think that should be the defining kind of factor in terms of.
Right, but that's like a woman's point of view.
Right.
You might not think that, but in general, guys care, and so it's like you can't go to the market and tell them.
But-
and I know your friend doesn't, and but
he's-
this is an exception.
But
It's
I
not
don't
the
think
rule.
he's that much of an exception. I've
but-
met a lot of people who don't really care and don't really consider that because there are other factors they consider.
Are they
right?
trying to sleep with you?
Who?
Like the people that told you that?
In terms of they don't
Probably.
care?
Probably.
That's what I'm saying.
Because guys are here, right? So guys, you prefer a purer woman than more of a hoe.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, and there's a lot of factors when it comes to liking a girl, but I think if the exact same girl and then she slept with 1,000 men
Right.
or 3 men, it's like
It's
I
a
don't even.
no-brainer.
Yeah, I don't judge the girl that slept with 1,000 men. Live your life, but yeah, you're gonna want the girl who has had less men inside of her.
Right.
Even if I were to say that there was any weight on body count, I would say you'd have to consider the circumstances that body count happened in, right? Where that person was at, why they were sleeping around, right? And what space they might be in, right? Someone
Guys
can
don't care.
completely change their habits. But
Guys actually
I don't
don't
think
care.
that's true. I don't believe that's true. I think that is actually kind of making too much of a generalization. I know you work on the
But
general,
it is
the rule and
general,
not the
yeah.
exception, but that is too much. It's a lot more nuanced than that. I don't think as many men as you think actually
So
do
I'm
care
just
about
saying,
that,
if a woman
that
came
makes
to me
sense.
and said, "I've slept with 1,000 men because I was broken and I had been abused and blah blah blah," right? You still slept with 1,000 men.
Where's the compassion in that though? Where's
That's
Do
I'm
we-
not thinking about. I'm thinking about you've had 1,000 penises inside
if
your
you
vagina.
are going to be with someone, shouldn't compassion be a main factor in that relationship, right? An understanding of who they are, of what they've been through. Shouldn't that be a main factor?
The world, but the world,
somebody else can.
the world doesn't owe
Not
you
me.
understanding. Like that's entitlement.
But if
You're not entitled to someone's compassion and understanding. And I think men are allowed to be selective in who they date. And like I think men are allowed to have standards, and if that's their standard, so be it. And it's not every single guy, but I think in general, if you poll men, would you rather have a girl that slept with 100 or slept with 1? They would pick 1. And are they less picky than they were 100 years ago? Sure, you were a hoe if you slept with 3 people 100 years ago, right? So are they less picky now? Sure, but you can't undo the wiring. What in general men want.
So where would you say that's come from in terms of them wanting that? Where would you
It's
say
biological.
Because
that had to biology
I'll tell
develops,
you.
right? So where is that developed
So
from?
historically, they had to ensure paternity.
Yeah.
So historically, like a men did not want to pass on resources to a kid that was not theirs. So they're biologically predispositioned to be grossed out by hoes, basically.
Yeah, because it's like, well, whose child is that? It's not mine. It could be like it could be Stanley's and Derek's. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't know, and so you're trying to. I hear what you're saying, but you can't undo the biological wiring that human beings have had for centuries, thousands of years. It just is what it is.
Can we put a marker on where this historic number is coming from? You're saying 100 years ago. That was 1922. So
Okay.
what? So like
Maybe
so
further back.
direct.
Yeah, even
so,
1922.
So between
Can you speak
World
into the
War-
microphone, please?
Sorry, between World War I and World War II, and in what part of it's a very vague argument. You're saying you're saying historically 100 years ago.
Well, you could take data from like the 1950s, where the majority of high school graduates were actually virgins before like the whole birth control was introduced and the sexual revolution like happened in the U.S.
Because most birth control wasn't actually invented by then.
You're right. Like I'm not saying like women. It gave women the option to sleep around, but that's what I'm saying. Back then, it was like it was bad. Like it was looked down upon if you had more than a certain amount of sex partners. And you can even think of this anecdotally. Like if I start telling my mom if I start telling my mom about the body counts like of girls nowadays, she's disgusted. She's like, "What on earth is going on?"
And
I tell my grandma.
was cool.
I tell my grandma. But that doesn't
Totally
have anything.
relevant.
That's like
That's
irrelevant
totally
to the
relevant.
conversation.
Not really,
I tell my grandma about like the body counts nowadays. She's like, "What is going on in these streets?" And we could just say like anecdotally. And me, when I hear like my little sister with the stories that they tell me, I'm like, what on earth? But it's like every generation. Go ahead.
In America right now, 100% of women that enter the college system around 17, right? Only 12.3% leave virgins. Only 12.3% leave college virgins.
Wait, you give me an 100%.
You got 100% of women
100%.
entering the college education system, and when you leave the college education system, only 12.3% of virgins.
What's
So
that
wait,
statistic for men?
For women,
For what's that statistic for men though?
4.5.
4.5 men leave virgins,
Leave virgins, yeah.
and 12.
14.5.
14
Full
point, and
14.
12.5% of
12.3%.
So we're talking a difference of like 1.5%, 2%.
So what happens during the college years now, in these days and times, is people are definitely more promiscuous.
In the most formative years of their life, when they're supposed to be going out and experiencing new experiences.
So then we have this whole.
It's a misnomer. Like it's a complete misnomer.
So do you think society benefits from promiscuity, or it doesn't benefit from promiscuity?
I think it's completely irrelevant.
You think promiscuity is completely irrelevant?
Yes.
I think whether it benefits society or not is irrelevant. I don't think that it should be definitive enough as like one person, 100 people, 1,000 people. It is a benefit or not to society.
You can't prescribe statistics to that. It's just like you can't be going 12.4% of this because it's relevant, subjective to each individual and their own bodily autonomy.
Okay, but do you think it's good for families that people are sleeping around more?
In what sense?
Like, do you think it's good to go into a marriage with a bunch of exes? Is that good? Like, and I just say this from experience because my parents have only been with each other, and like where I would see, exes come back in the picture, and like some of my friends' parents' marriages and like other stuff come in where my parents had like only been with each other, and I think it was better for their marriage.
And that's a completely subjective view. It's complete. Like it's.
Well, you could say that, but when you also have data to back it up,
right?
I would say there's other factors that go into that, and I kind of bring back what I said about kind of having a certain amount of self-awareness, right? When you choose to go into marriage, I think people have to take accountability for their pasts and acknowledge, where they may be still holding on to things before you enter into a big commitment like that. And I don't think, the number of your body count or the number of people you've been with prevents you from being able to do that. I feel like you can still make the choice to do that. You have to make the choice to do that. But I think it's independent of your body count. And I think even if you slept with a number of people, if you have the self-awareness to be able to say, this is what I'm still holding on to. These are the people I'm still holding on to. This is why it didn't work out. I'm choosing to move forward with that. That's a choice. And you can actively make that choice consciously, right?
You're right. And that's why it's not 100%.
Yeah.
But I'm saying like every person you sleep with brings more baggage to the next relationship.
You can learn to release that baggage. You know what I mean? And if
you
make
can't,
that conscious choice.
you can, but I don't think most women do.
Yeah, but then I think the conversation should be about how do we, when you say that people don't owe you understanding and compassion, I would actually disagree with that, because I would say at a base, as humans, we owe each other understanding, we owe each other empathy, we owe each other acceptance, so that we can actually work towards a middle ground on these issues and find a way through, instead of kind of just placing the blame and pushing people into a space where they have to victimize themselves and struggle to take accountability because they're constantly being attacked for it. You know what I mean? So,
but I think accountability comes with being honest. And I just think it's dishonest to say there's no consequence for sleeping around. And like most men will be lined up to date you even if you slept with 100 people. Like that's dishonest.
But I don't.
And I think it's lying to a younger generation of women when we should tell them to be more pure and protect that.
More sleeping around brings more abortions, right? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Right? It brings more deaths amongst babies, people killing their babies. It brings more sexual transmitted diseases.
So then
like I was saying, is being single mothers also. Like I said, is it better for society or not? And you're saying that promiscuity, or some people here are saying promiscuity it doesn't matter, but it does, because it affects society. It creates single mothers, it creates dead children, and it also it does, and it creates sexual transmitted diseases.
Don't men not putting condoms on like create babies as well as women, or like I don't understand
women not
why
using
we're
or women not using the 41 forms of birth control that are available to them? There's like too many options to not get pregnant.
If a woman gets pregnant, it's on her. It's not on the man.
Yeah, because you can also require that the men you sleep with wear condoms. You can make that a requirement. So I would say it's like on the women. If you get pregnant, it's like kind of your own fault.
Because I think as a woman, I do take it on myself, because obviously I don't want to get pregnant, but I don't think it's all in the woman. I think it's definitely 50-50.
I'll tell you what, I'll give you my opinion why I think it's on a woman. Because unless it's a grape situation, you let him inside you, okay? And you have, remember, my body, my choice, right? That's what we're told. So it's your body. So it's your choice to let a man inside you, right? And you know the consequences of letting a man inside you. Yes or no? Right. Yeah, so this man could be reckless. It's just like this home. If we let somebody in the door right now and they run in here and they go crazy, right? That's on us, because we let them in. We didn't vet them properly before we let them in, right? So if you didn't vet the person properly before you let them in, that's on you. That's what they're going to say. That's what people
Okay,
will
so
say.
if I choose that I don't want to be on the pill or all the other options, and I decide that I want you to wear a condom, and then you don't wear a condom, is that on me as well?
Hang on.
How do you-
You're going to let him inside you with that one?
You didn't notice?
But what I'm saying is, if you trust, you're already having
Stealthing
sex,
is
so
the
there's
thing.
already a sense of trust between you. So obviously, I don't know. I'm just giving a random example. If it is in the dark or whatever, and you do it,
You're
and then
talking
it
about
happens.
stealthing.
Yeah.
Stealthing is a thing.
Stealthing is like a minuscule percentage of what happens during
Well,
sex.
and
So people
my
ju-
question.
No, it was
But you're
more my.
minimizing it
And
for-
well, no, my question is like, why didn't you vet the guys better you're sleeping with? You shouldn't be sleeping with a guy you don't trust.
Why didn't you vet any of us
But
before
I did.
walked
I'm
in
saying in
door?
this particular example, you did trust that person, and you have, and some is also, he can lie. So I might have felt like I'd vetted him well enough to be in that position, but obviously you find out later it's not the truth.
What percent do you feel like that is? Do you feel like that's the majority?
No, not at all. I was actually just asking what your opinion was in that particular
but
scenario.
I think when we have these conversations, what people generally tend to do is to try to bring the exceptions more so than the rule. And it's like, normally on this show, we try to argue the rule more so than the exception, because there's always going to be exceptions to things, right? So it's like, okay, dogs bark. Some dogs have got something wrong with their, their boys, and they don't bark. But generally, dogs bark. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, if people keep arguing for the dogs that don't bark, it's like, well, dogs bark. We already know dogs bark.
Well, and I would still say it's on you because you chose not to be on birth control.
I just feel like there's so
yeah,
many
like
reasons
there's-
why women don't go on birth control.
Yeah, there's 41 forms of birth control. So, and if you don't want to do that, you can get married.
I think it's actually the guy's fault if the girl gets pregnant.
Go for it.
Because no, it's the guy's fault. Because I mean, even the pull-up method alone is 97% effective when done right. So, unless you want to be paying child support, like you should get better at that. And then the other thing is like guys should always carry condoms. You know, because you never know when you get lucky, right?
But my thing is, a guy can do everything right, and a girl can still steal it. Like the NBA issues statements every year.
Then he didn't do everything right.
What?
He didn't do everything right. You should flush that thing. Take it with you when you leave.
Yeah, good point.
So
That's a
I
good
think
point, yeah.
if I had a son, I would tell him, hey, if a girl gets pregnant, it's 1,000,000% your fault. If I had a daughter, I'd say, if you get pregnant, it's 1,000,000% your fault. And everybody, whether a boy or girl, it's 100% your responsibility what happens in your life.
I think it's more on the girl because we have more power.
Right.
We have more power than men do in every instance. And if we get pregnant, we can still get an abortion where men have no say in that.
And if the child is born, you can put it up for adoption.
Yeah.
That's not a man doesn't have a say. A man doesn't have a say in whether or not.
And so I don't know how you
Men generally don't have
I
a
can
say.
honestly
The
say,
woman
like-
has a say.
But it just doesn't make any
Because
sense
that's
because
the way the law works.
it's still going to be the guy's responsibility as well, like, and the girls, both of them individually, right?
I'm not saying as a man
Yeah.
that we don't have responsibility. I'm not taking responsibility off the man. I'm saying you got to protect your womb. You are head of security for your own vagina, right? Because we know that push comes to shove, you're left with a baby. A guy could run
Yeah,
to
he could dip out.
he could dip out,
Which
right?
is why girls are more selective when choosing partners
right
traditionally, right?
Exactly. I'm saying that's why it's on you, because I'm not condoning men like running away from their responsibilities, by the way. But I'm saying worst comes to worst, it's on you, girl. It's not on me. I can dip out. So that's why I said women have to now start vetting the men that are coming inside them.
It's a smart choice to that, yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
You
Justin,
see-
it looked like you wanted to say a lot earlier.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just thinking like, so I've gotten ex-girlfriends of mine pregnant, not just once, like many times, and every single time it's like 100% been my fault, right? I was like young or drunk or just like being unsafe, or I trusted what the woman was telling me. One time, I had a 1-8 stand in Australia, and she told me she was on birth control. Turns out she was lying, right? Or I had an ex-girlfriend who told me she has a medical issue and she can't get pregnant, and she actually got pregnant, and every single one of them got abortions. But regardless, it was not just traumatic for me; it was traumatic for them, obviously. But in the end, it was completely my fault because I was being young and dumb and reckless.
Well, I'm going back to how many women you've
But
had abortions, but I'm like, my head is spinning as to how many women you've had abortions.
but you've also just held yourself accountable to all of that.
I don't think it's entirely my fault, right? And from a different perspective, you can say it was completely theirs.
No, and
but
you just completely held yourself accountable, and like, I
don't not believe in accountability. Like, I think that's great. I just think at this point in time, like, women have more power when it comes to reproduction.
I do agree,
and so that's why I'm saying
because they're the only ones that have wombs.
Right, exactly. So be careful who you let inside there, because I don't have a womb, and all the women here do. Right, so. If all the women here have wombs, they have to be more careful because, like I said, worst comes to worst. You were saying you got drunk and you had sex with this girl, but she let you inside her drunk.
And she lied.
And she told me she had birth control.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, she had more power in that situation.
Right.
Because she got to pick if she was on birth control or not. And then she was able to lie to you and basically trick you.
It's true.
And so, like, how can you say you had more power in that situation?
I think I should have known better. She was a stranger,
what?
Right? Like, she was a complete stranger. I just met this girl, right? I don't remember her name.
And
right?
so what's stopping me from having intercourse with a girl and saying I've had a vasectomy?
Nothing.
So
Nothing.
That which completely shifts that power balance.
No,
so
because one is more accessible than the other. One is much more accessible than the other.
The 41 forms of birth control you speak of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's more accessible.
That's more accessible, and you don't have to get surgery to get it.
There are a lot of side effects to birth control, though, especially hormonal. Especially if you kind of have predisposition to hormonal imbalance, it can cause a lot of negative side effects. Even the non-hormonal ones can cause like really like a lot of pain, like a lot of discomfort and that sort of thing. So the choice to not be on birth control can actually like be attributed to the fact that there's a lot of difficulty with being on birth control.
I understand that, and I'm not discounting that. Like, I think there's a lot of reasons to not be on birth control, but my thing is like we have more power when it comes to reproduction, because even if you do get pregnant, who has the power to get an abortion? We do. And even if we have the kid, who has the power to give it up for adoption? We do. And even if we keep the kid, who has the power to get a guy on child support? We do. And then who also has the option to get married to the guy and then leave and take half? We do. So, like, when it comes to reproduction, we just
men don't have much power when it comes to reproduction. they can ejaculate.
This is fucking absurd.
Do you not think there's some like
But hang on, sorry. Articulate that. Just articulate it. That's what we want. Articulate it. You can say it's absurd, but articulate it.
The entire argument's a complete logical fallacy. You're arguing that the women have more power because they have reproductive organs. That's it doesn't make any sense. Like,
you're speaking from the perspective of a man, though. You don't have a womb.
Of course I am. I was the one that raised that point earlier.
Right, exactly. So if you speak to women and ask women, after we've actually had this argument, do they think that they have more power than we do? Would you say yes or no?
What kind of
No, I'm asking the women. Like, do you think you have more power than us when it comes to reproduction?
Ask the question again.
Like, as a woman, do you think you have more power when it comes to reproduction than men do? As in a baby being born.
So you're talking about power as in like power to keep the baby, not have the baby, get the baby fostered or adopted, or I think that power's been put on women. I think that there's like a lot, bringing up the womb, people letting people in the womb, but your sperm should be quite important in this.
So the question I asked was, do women have more power than men?
Like, do women have the final say?
Yeah.
No.
So men have the final say?
So it's not your body, your choice anymore.
I think when it comes to a baby, it takes two to tango. And I think that there's two people who have made this baby. Two people have a decision to make together as to what's in the best interest of the two people and the possible baby.
Okay, so using that, I'll say, okay, so it's two to tango. Okay, you get pregnant. I have sex with you. You get pregnant. I say, I don't want a baby.
Great, me neither.
No, what I'm saying, me saying that, do I have the power to stop it?
Yes.
I don't have the power to stop you from having a child.
I think men now have a lot of
because it's your body, your choice. You can choose. I can't choose to get rid of that baby for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, otherwise
you can do that.
Yeah, otherwise every man would be getting rid of accidental pregnancy.
Exactly.
So I have a question for you. Would you be okay with men being able to sign off their rights as a father? Because we have the right to get an abortion.
Yes.
So you'd be okay with like them being able to sign off financial rights?
I think that both people should be able to do that if it's consented and communicated. people should be able to do
So
that.
even if women like want to keep the kid, you'd be cool with that?
Yes.
Okay. Like, at least, what about you guys? What do you think?
I feel like you can do that. I feel like there is a way that you can sign off your.
Not necessarily. You can. It depends where you're at,
Yeah.
but not necessarily. It's not
I
cut and
know
dry.
it is in some places that is already a thing. Because I do agree. I think both people have the option to decide how involved they're going to be in a child's upbringing, and if someone doesn't want to be a part of that, then it's not a good idea to force them.
Right. And what about child support? You'd be okay with them being able to sign off and.
Yes, I think if two people have had this baby accidentally, there's a good chance that they're independent anyway. So kind of relying on your own kind of independent source of income, to have a baby and stuff like that, especially if you're the one choosing, the other person isn't, then yes, I think that's fair.
Okay. What do you think?
I can give my own anecdotal evidence. It was like my biological father wanted to have me aborted, and him and my mother were quite young, and they didn't get along, and my mother made her choice, and it was grand, and I've lived to be a happy adult, and I've caught up with my biological father many times, and he's fine, but I don't have a continuous ongoing relationship with him, and it's completely fine. Like, it's not like it hasn't affected me in the slightest. Like,
Okay. What do you think?
I agree that they should be able to sign off because I've got friends that have gotten pregnant where a guy they're not with, in a relationship with, he doesn't want her to have the baby, she goes ahead. I think at that point when you have that discussion and he decides, then I think you'll know how that's then going to go. So then it's your choice. If you want to make that choice and have the baby, then I don't know. I think it's on you personally.
What do you guys think?
I would say no, absolutely not. To give them like from a selfish point of view, oh man, we get to sign off, I'm out of here. But from an economical point of view, that's probably the worst thing we can do, is allow men to negate their responsibility to that child and let them sign off and have an easy pass out. Because I think I don't want to generalize, but I'm assuming a lot of women are saying, it's fine, I can do it myself, but it's not about you. It's about what's best for the kid. And the kid needs his father.
So do you think abortion should be illegal then? Like, if we're going to
No.
make it equal?
No,
So
I don't agree with
why do
abortion,
you-
but it should be legal in my
So
opinion.
then why do you think legally women should get a choice whether or not they want to be mothers, but men shouldn't have why men shouldn't have a choice whether or not they want to be fathers?
If I'm raising a son and I tell him a girl gets pregnant, it's 100% your fault. I've been with way too many women. I've never got a girl pregnant. So there's no excuse a guy can say.
No, I'm
So-
talking about from a legal perspective, though.
If you got a girl
I'm not-
pregnant, then it's your responsibility.
So
Sorry,
then wouldn't
buddy.
you say the same thing to a woman? Like, if you got pregnant, it's your responsibility.
Yes, to both. It's
Right,
both your guys'
right. But
responsibility.
you're saying one should be legal and one shouldn't. Why the double standard?
No, wait, what double standard?
So the double standard where a woman has a choice of whether or not she wants to be a mother, but a guy doesn't have a choice of whether or not he wants to be a father. So
The
I
main-
said
you said-
he wants to sign on. I'll weigh his rights, and I'm
You're
saying,
saying, should they have the option? Yes, I believe the option should exist.
Okay,
I'm not like saying I would create a society where I'm promoting it. I don't think it's healthy
I
emotionally
agree.
or mentally.
I agree.
But
I agree with you.
I think if you look around how many dumb people that exist on this planet, I think a lot of these people that get pregnant should not be having kids. And I think the worst thing you can do for our economy is allow them to bring another baby into this world when they're already pretty messed up or on drugs. I'm thinking that kid's going to end up in the foster care. My parents are foster parents. So I can just see the trickle effect for all this stuff. So, in that, even though I don't like abortion and stuff like that, I just think it should absolutely be available.
I personally think that this whole feminism has given women a lot of power and taken power away from men. And then what happens is a lot of the time women generally tend to use that power to their advantage when and where they see fit. So like in these cases, like in the cases of abortion, like, look, my body, my choice, my body, my choice. I get to choose. I get to choose. All right, cool. I'm a dad. I get to choose not to. Oh, you're a deadbeat dad. It's like, what's that all about? Like, if you can get to choose not to be a mother, why can't I get to choose not to be a dad?
I don't think you should not be able to choose to be a dad. That's what.
Do you think you should be able to choose not to be a mum?
Yeah, you were
Yeah,
gone. She
yeah.
agreed, but
okay.
they didn't.
Oh, okay.
Or he didn't. So that's why I was asking.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I think
Yeah,
if you do get a girl pregnant, you still are going to have to finance it, because if you don't finance it, who's going to finance it, right? The woman has to take care of the child and raise the child, and she's going to be spending all her time raising that kid, and she won't have time to work. And then the government's going to have to step in. Where does that money come from, right? So it makes sense that the government wants men to pay child support for their baby.
Well, it was her choice to have the baby, though.
It is the guy's choice to get her pregnant.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was. I've trust me. I've slept with so many women, never got a girl pregnant. So it's his fault.
It was his choice. Like just like you said, right? You had sex with a woman and she lied. So
his fault.
Yeah.
It was my choice to not use a condom and ejaculate.
It was his
without
choice to not use a condom. It wasn't his choice to get her pregnant.
He ejaculated in her.
Of course he did.
It's his fault.
So
it ends there.
So all right. So once he ejaculates in her and she's lied to him,
it's still his fault. He believed her.
True. Actually,
she was a stranger. I
actually,
no idea.
I get it. I get what you're saying.
He shouldn't have believed her.
I'm assuming
he should have been more cautious.
But I think the point we're making is like you're promoting a double standard because
life's full of double standards, though.
Yeah, I know.
But why did double standards only tend to benefit women?
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
I'm just saying that I'm not trying to. I'm just basically saying if I'm having a son, the conversation I'm having with them, it's 1,000,000% your fault.
But we're not talking about your son. Like you keep bringing up your son,
but we're saying as a philosophy, right?
No, I'm talking about legally.
Yeah,
I've said that legally.
society.
I'm saying like legally, there's a double standard. Why?
If I get a girl pregnant,
like women have the right not to be mothers, men don't have the right not to be fathers. From a legal perspective, she can still put you on child support.
Right.
You can get put on child support even though the child's not biologically yours in these days.
I know. I've heard stories like that. That sucks.
You know,
it's really unfortunate for those men.
Very.
Yeah, they think it's theirs. They're raising it for a couple of years. They find out later it's not theirs, and then they're legally obligated to support that child.
Do you think a man could do that?
No.
That's what I'm trying to say. There's a huge
double standard
within society.
Yeah, life's not fair, and I understand. We're trying to make it equal, but it's not always going to be equal. And some sticky situations like these, it's like, sorry, buddy.
Go on, pal. Sorry.
I didn't say anything.
Okay. Should we read the super chats?
Yeah, I can read super chats.
And then we can get to the second half.
Okay, guys. Don't forget to subscribe to our Clips channel. It's just Pearly Clips and Pearl Daily while you're at it. Also, like the video. That is the most important metric that YouTube uses to push out these live streams. So make sure you like the video and subscribe. I think we might hit 350K during this live. I don't know yet. Let's give a little round of applause. Okay, let me read the super chat. So Young Lex, send these guys back to Canada, please. Katya Vasilineva, of course, the Antifa guy is laughing about the babies being aborted and has cringe takes. It fits his ideology. Mugen, Sarah dropping truth and logic, even though it's not a popular opinion with this modern half, not popular opinion with the modern half the gender population. Men have to work beyond hard to successfully bed a woman morally and naturally. It does take two to tango. However, if a modern woman gets pregnant nowadays, even with the many forms of birth control available and engineered towards them, it's on her. Bozzy dude in the black in the middle with glasses is a rude guest. He's condescending to others and thinks he knows it all. H. Vergas 207. I agree with Dawsey. Simps on set equals SOS. Maurice Antifiak. The guy in the middle is a typical example of the men that get taken advantage of by women. Northwest Pearl. My ex chose to stop taking birth control 2 years after we had started having sex together. Now we have a 4-year-old and don't talk. Men protect birth. The Sky Metric 52. Why do they use women for the plural instead of women? It's driving me insane. FYI, listen to Pearl. She's the real deal. Road to 500K. Dawsey, these guys are all simps. Wow, this is kind of hard to watch. They can't be saved. Chris Brown, this is the most clueless group of guests you've ever had on. Guy laughing at abortion needs to sort out his attitude. P.S. You don't appreciate bras until they're gone. Katsy Visilila, if you bear the greatest risk, you bear the greater proportion of the responsibility. The Wanderer, the biological imperative results in the assurance of paternity. The imperative itself is men being inherently territorial and protective. Also, don't forget the damage to women pair bonding. The Savvy Ninja. I just bought Kraft mac and cheese because I love it. Jimmy John bought Kraft because it's all he could afford. Mary Sue bought Kraft because her kids wanted her to. Why does it matter? We all bought it. Still low-key 21. Stealthing is a crime in the U.S. Third-degree rape. Marriage causes divorces. Would Redhead give Sarah a criminal compassion? The UK Economist, great topic, Pearl. Please ask your guests if they prefer a conservative provider who values purity or a left-leaning progressive man for a husband. Maurice and Aini Fiak, the girl with the red hair is a typical example of women trying to tell men what they think men should be. Edgar Shepard, body count matters just like job resumes matters. Having one job for 10 years is better than having 10 jobs in 10 years. Marriage causes divorces, tall redhead. Data shows high body count equals divorce. High body count also shows drama, chaos, baggage, attention seeking, and daddy issues. Bozzy, why do modern women always tell men that they shouldn't care about their body count? Men will always care about a woman's past. Katla Vasilineva, exception to the rule doesn't eliminate the rule. On average, women establish an emotional connection prior and or during intimacy, hence their ability to pair bond decreases in relation to their body count increasing. Mosin, 1938, that 20% of failed marriages when the female doesn't have any previous partners could be because she wasn't and gave him crabs, LOL. Mosin, 1938, the biggest concern was when I was a 14-year-old boy was to make sure you didn't leave the VHS tape that you're not supposed to have in the VCR when your parents come home. Marriage causes divorces. Virgin or not is irrelevant. Do not get married in the UK. You generally lose about 70% in the UK. Getting 30% is not enough to survive as a guy. Mosin, 1938. The reason why girls in religious schools still lose their virginity is because they're exposed to the don't judge me, I'm a free woman feminist jargon. Nas009, thank you for the super chat sticker. I'm going to refresh it really quick just to make sure I didn't miss any. Also, guys, like the video. It's the most important metric that YouTube uses to push out the live. We should have 1,000 likes in here. We have over 1,000 people. We should have 1,000 likes. We're only at 500, so make sure you like the video. As CC Blue, the most beta panel of men, guy on the couch, put your socks on, your feet died 2 years ago. H Vargas 207, a woman would abort a beta but would keep an alpha. Nas, thank you for the super chat. Alexandra, society should always have children's best interest as a priority. DC081, it's conversations like these that will make artificial wombs the future, and men will circumvent women altogether, and women will have no power. Big Brown, are there any masculine men in England? Kilton Daniels, get Sims off the panel. Pearl, THPP, it's ludicrous and intellectually dishonest to say men have more reproductive rights than women. The laws are written that way purposely. Unless a man can take a woman and make her get or not get an abortion, it's not equal. Young Lex, send these guys back to Canada, please. Oh, I read that one. Okay.
I've never been to Canada.
That was a very interesting bunch of super chats. Getting back to the topic. When it comes to virginity, do you think the church promote... Let me try and rephrase this. In church, it is told that to be a virgin is a good thing. However, do you think that churches are generally have virgins in them?
Nope.
I don't think they have virgins in them, no.
Explain. What do you mean? Why?
I've got real life proof examples of girls I've met in church that are not virgins.
So these non-virgins in church, do you think that even the most pure place that women are supposed to be, church, cannot stop human beings from being promiscuous?
I mean, I think humans are promiscuous by nature.
Mm.
I think that's just what we are. I think it's more socially accepted for women to have sex now, whereas before it's more frowned upon.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay. Women have sex. It's okay. Like, it's not this big taboo thing anymore. If we're talking about women still, we're talking about just men and women.
Yeah, men and women. Yeah, virgins in general.
I think humans are humans.
Mm.
I think whether they're part of a church or not. I think maybe it's promoted more to hold your virginity in a church, but I don't really see that being in my experience where I grew up, I didn't really see that being a factor.
You grew up in church, Pearl.
Mm-hmm.
What was the virginity like amongst the people in church when you grew up?
I mean, I would say like it was just delayed because I went to Catholic school. So everything that like the public school kids were doing at like 14, 15, like we did just like when we got to college, I would say it was kind of delayed. The other church I was a part of was like a Christian church. And I would say the girls, there was a couple girls I met there that like waited till they were married to have sex, but they got married pretty young. So I don't see girls being more pure like over a certain age in church. Like if they are like they're married typically at like 20, 21.
Right.
Like you don't meet a lot of 25-year-old virgins in church.
No.
You can come on in. He didn't leave, guys. He just went to the bathroom. Everyone was like, he left.
Do you think church nowadays, because I've been to a few churches, I don't go to church anymore, but I would look at the outfits in church from some of the ladies, right? Like, do you think that church promotes purity when it comes to like some of the like things that people do in church? Or do you think it's just like a show?
I think it's the very conservative, pure mindset where we don't talk about sex because it's taboo and you shouldn't have sex because, you know, you will be judged and you have to, you know, preserve yourself and that sort of thing. And I think naturally when people are told that they can't do something, they kind of get more curious about it. And I think we can kind of sexualize anything if we feel like it. So kind of, you know, when you have like an excessively pure space, right, it's really easy to start sexualizing that because that's kind of the whole opposites, you know, on the same spectrum, right? There's always going to be a middle ground and you can really kind of really project that onto it. It's easy to distort it like that, if that makes sense.
I remember your video, Pearl, when you were saying that these pastors are like pimping out these.
Oh no. Okay, I have this theory about church.
Yeah, go on.
And I will say this isn't my church because I grew up in Catholic, so Catholic was a little different. But I have this theory that like the the pastors are like the homemakers, and what they do is they say you can be forgiven for being a hoe because they want to sleep with all the congregation because that's what they do. So they're like, yeah, you can get forgiven, and then they're like chatting to him after, and
Wow.
yeah, so like, and then they market it because what they'll do is they market wholeness because they have the chastity speakers come back and they're like, yeah, I did this, this, and this. And it's always the girl that got ran through and then the husband that married her and who didn't and he was like more pure. And then the girl's like, yeah, I got ran through, I did all this stuff, but then I found God and found my husband. And so they're like, yeah, you can just do whatever you want and then still find a husband at the end of it. And so I feel like, in a way, some churches market hodom.
When you say ran through, are you saying being slept with lots like
yeah,
sleeping with
like
lots of
you know,
people? That's
yeah, like I slept with him
that's a
and him
pejorative term.
and him. Yeah, so like,
Yeah, cool.
Sorry, go on.
yeah,
So,
him.
no, I just wanted some clarification on that. I wasn't sure. What
Yeah,
the term
I don't know what the
ran through.
What would you say is the specific point someone has ran through? I don't know what the number is.
Yeah, no, I'm going to leave those statistics to you guys.
I mean,
I know.
I've heard a lot of women in college have trains ran on them.
That's it. That's I would say that's the definition of being ran through. It's like
Right.
more than like 2 sexual partners in a night.
Too sexual.
Maybe 2 or 3. I don't know.
4. Yeah.
And so does that apply to a male as well?
No,
No.
absolutely not.
No, it's just strictly towards the female.
Yeah, well, because men and women are different. It's hard for men to get sex. It's easy for women to get sex.
Yeah. All right. Sweet. I'm still just clarifying.
Do you think men can be hoes?
Nope.
Why?
Explain.
For a man to sleep with a lot of women, he has to be inherently attractive or have value. He can't just run around sleeping with women. It doesn't work like that.
But if he is attracted and has value and runs around sleeping with a lot of women, could he be a hoe?
No.
Why?
Because again, right, attraction is a very subjective term, and women don't typically look at a man's physical appearance to determine attraction.
Yeah,
they typically look at behavior and like a communication style.
Fine, but if he's sleeping with a lot of women, and if we're putting women in the same context, if she sleeps with a lot of men, she's a hoe. If a man sleeps with a lot of women, regardless of who he is, you know, how attractive, his value, whatever, if he's sleeping with a lot of women, wouldn't he be a hoe?
You're applying the exact same parameters, but withdrawing the end.
Well, he can't.
conclusion.
A man can't get pregnant, right? And so there's no negative consequence to him sleeping with a lot of women.
I mean, STDs, but also why is that?
And
Why is there a double
the
standard?
implication here is that a woman who sleeps with a lot of men, right? That's what
Because
we're talking about.
because that's easy to do. So it's like it's easy for a woman to just sleep with a lot of guys. Go outside and say, "Does anyone want to have sex with me?" You can get it done. If a dude does that, they look at him like he's nuts.
Probably call the
A dude,
cops.
like,
He's a
you know what changed my like perspective
Yeah.
on this is I went to a pickup artist boot camp once. This is the wildest thing I've ever seen. Like these guys paid thousands of dollars to learn how to get laid. thousands of dollars, and literally like went through coaching, like trying to figure out how to build attraction with a girl, like all this stuff.
So,
and I'm just like, all I have to do is exist.
So if we bring that back to what we were talking about.
You have a vagina. You will get laid.
But if we bring that back to what we were talking about in terms of virginity when we were younger, in terms of like girls weren't really thinking about it that much and men kind of saw it as this victory, right? Isn't that what we're taught? But that's what's pushed onto us, that men losing their virginity and sleeping with lots of women is like this, you know, like high achievement. So they pay lots of money because if you get laid a lot, then you're seen as, you know, successful, right?
I would say it is a high achievement because historically most men didn't even reproduce. Only 40% of men reproduced historically, where 80% of women did. And even up 8,000 years ago, 17 women reproduced for every one man. And so it's like that's an achievement. Most men don't even get to reproduce. And I know like now, you know, you take away the reproduction because we have birth control, but you don't get rid of biology.
So are we reducing it to reproduction then? So a woman who sleeps
that was
around,
the initial reason for sex.
But we've definitely developed as a society, right? Past that point where it's not just about reproduction.
Right. But I'm saying like you can't get rid of the way people feel.
In terms of
like men are naturally predispositioned to be repulsed by a girl that sleeps around. And so I'm just like the same way typically women like men that are taller than us, and men don't come to us and say, oh, you shouldn't like men taller than us. Like, no.
So I would say again that would like,
there's some angry little men out there.
Angry, honestly.
Sorry, continue, Pearl.
in terms of that, like evolving over time, right? Biologically evolving over time, I'd say that there's other attitudes that have also evolved over time, kind of, and that are probably taking up more space now. Maybe haven't got to the same point as that same mindset, but I do think we can get to a point where that can shift, right? Mm-hmm. Especially because it's evolved. It's a mindset that's evolved based on what we've been taught. And we can be taught different things and change that gradually, but we have to be open to that.
So I agree with you. I do think it's evolved over time, where like typically before, as I said, like I would say men are more forgiving with body count than they used to be. So I would agree with you that it has evolved, but is it better? Well, like, are the outcomes better
I would argue
nowadays?
That any space that kind of promotes, like I said, acceptance and understanding of why we behave in certain ways and why we drift towards certain things, and understanding how it can harm. Because I feel like that kind of mindset of like, in terms of, you know, if you slept a lot of people as like woman as a man, you're successful is essentially harmful. Because it places a lot of that emphasis on that
harmful to
like
who?
hyper masculine.
But the thing is, it's true, and I just think like you can live in delusion, and
it's true right now, and I would agree with that. Yes, 100%. I would say that is, if we talk about like the general, that is kind of the general mindset at the moment. I would agree, but does that mean it's the best mindset, right? And
but who are you to determine what's the best mindset?
Yeah, because I'm trying to understand who you said it's harmful. Harmful to who? Like who's it harmful to?
So like, okay, so in terms of like situations like rape, right? Men who, or like incels, right? Who don't maybe have that same achievement, right? They kind of resort to quite violent means in order to reach that same level of success, or they feel kind of like, you know, put out because they don't get to be able to do it. And that's why incel culture kind of develops, because they think like a certain group of men only gets all the women because, you know, they're this high level. And then often they turn violent, right? And it can be a very destructive view when you place all the emphasis on that like macho is probably not the right word to say there, that like hyper masculine focus on sexuality and seeing it as something to achieve, right? When we do that and then men don't, and then they don't feel masculine anymore and they feel emasculated by it, and that can turn very violent. So it can be dangerous for society. And I'm not saying this is me, you know, saying, I'm saying it's a point to consider. It's a thing to talk about when we're considering what's best for everyone.
You're actually somewhat correct. It is dangerous for society. What like the more when there's a large group of men that aren't getting laid, basically, that is dangerous for society.
Do you know what happens when men don't get laid?
But it's because the emphasis is on the fact, you know, and that's where we've put
society
the focus.
becomes more aggressive.
No, males become more aggressive.
Exactly.
Yeah, men become more aggressive when they don't get laid.
But I think that's because of the emphasis that we put on being laid, and essentially
that
comes from biology, survival, reproduction, that sort of thing.
It's not an emphasis; it's a biological thing.
But we are taught that. We are taught that through biology. That is something that is evolved based on what we've been taught, and through a need for survival, right? To reproduce, to be able to, you know, reproduce your bloodline and lineage and that sort of thing. It's a survival-based mindset.
Men need to release. You don't know what it is.
There are other ways to release. You don't have to release just through sex.
Hang on. You're a woman. I'm a man. Men need to release their testosterone. They need to
Women have testosterone.
Hang on. They need to find a way in which they need to release.
How do you release? Okay? How do you release? What, by shagging some birds?
No,
is that how you release? Is that your release? Is that sorry, you just said
wait. Yeah, I hear you. But what I'm saying to you is men are biologically wired a certain way. Okay.
Are you a biologist?
Men are biologically wired a certain way. Okay.
Okay.
So what happens in society is that when men are not getting when men are not sexually, what's the word I'm looking for?
Gratified.
Gratified.
Yes, that's the word you're looking
When men are not
Yes.
sexually gratified, they get more aggressive.
Do they?
So
Speaking to the mic, please. Sorry.
when they are more sexually gratified,
they're less violent.
they're
Is that what you're
less
saying?
violent.
I would.
Okay, that is the biggest logical fallacy I've ever heard in my entire
I would say that-
fucking life.
It's not a logical fallacy.
It is.
It's true.
All
But I would say
Thank
that.
you.
I'd have to agree.
All right. Okay. So we've got 3 men saying it's true. So you explain why it's a logical fallacy.
So you're saying that if I don't get laid, I'm going to hit someone?
I said you explain why it is a logical fallacy.
Well, you said you've never had trouble talking to women, so you probably wouldn't know what that's like, right?
Like,
You said earlier in the show you've never had trouble talking to women.
Yeah.
You're good with the ladies.
Yeah.
So
You guys should really ask Justin about this.
Yeah.
You guys should really ask Justin about this. He has a lot of study and history and like knowledge on the.
Go on, Justin.
Well, so I mean, it's
Repent,
evolutionary
Justin.
psychology, but more so than that, like, I mean, if a man masturbates, he can get it released, so you won't feel as aggressive, right? But I don't know if you guys ever heard of NoFap. I'm a huge advocate for the NoFap movement, and I'm like 7 years into it, right? And I know if I don't have sex for like, I don't know, a week or two, I start feeling extremely aggressive.
Right.
And I think it's very common for men to feel that way because when you abstain from sex, your testosterone's increasing. You need to have that release. And if you don't believe me, go try it. Go stop jerking off, stop having sex for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and see how you feel.
But would you not agree that there's other ways to release other than just sexual
You're a woman.
gratification, right?
You're talking
Masturbation
you're actually
or sex?
talking to
You-
men.
two ways.
Yeah, no, I realize that I'm talking to men. Thank you, but I can enter into the conversation
Yeah, I
and
know,
ask
but-
about it, right? And
but-
I'm saying, are there not other ways for you to release,
How?
not just sex,
What-
through
what-
exercise, right?
what-
Through
you-
physical engagement and healthy in a controlled
It's
environment,
not
right?
the same. It's not the same as busting a nut.
Fair enough.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you for being so like.
So Justin, you're
You're being so honest.
You're like you're a club promoter. You're a
Sure.
YouTuber.
Yep.
Yes. Yes. So like your work outlet is having conversations like this.
Yeah.
And busting a nut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Sweet.
So
Yeah.
how do you manage your aggression? You say you're 7 years into this NoFap. How do you manage your
Have
aggression when
sex.
you feel it coming up? You have sex. Fair enough.
Is
What
he's saying.
what if you can't have sex?
That's when they
But
turn
that's-
aggressive.
Yeah, that's
Those
the
are
point.
the incels, is what
Yeah,
we're talking about.
That's
So what do you do? Get grapey.
But what do you do as somebody who's actually, because I don't
Let's
have
not
this
go to the extreme.
experience.
Wet dreams.
Well, okay, fair. But there is you do manage your aggression. That means that you're not going around graping people or like
Obviously not.
hitting people or stuff. And
Why
would
do we
you-
have to go to the extremes?
No, but
like
I'm
that?
just wondering how
I've
far would
I've
you?
never heard anything like this.
You're actually
before.
somewhat
How-
you're somewhat correct.
What-
Like that
what-
does
yeah.
happen historically. Like when there are large groups of men that aren't getting laid, like they do get angry and violent. Like
yeah,
you're right.
But this guy seems to be like if
He just
for-
gets laid.
Yeah.
He's
But-
chilling.
Yeah,
if-
bless him. Bless his cotton socks.
And for the people
but,
who
like,
don't, they're doing okay managing their
they jerk off.
their
They jerk
aggression
off.
at the
I mean,
moment. or-
luckily, I mean, I don't want to say luckily, but like corn is a thing.
yeah.
So that's what I would guess.
I personally believe the reason why what's it called? OnlyFans it became so popular during the lockdown is because there are a load of men that weren't getting laid. And so they had to find a way in which to release. They had to, I'm sure corn consumption went through the roof during lockdown.
There's also another factor I think we're missing out on is that a lot of these men that are virgins into their adulthood and haven't experienced that, it's not just the sex. They're not even getting to experience what it's like to have female energy or affection from a woman.
Right.
They don't even get to experience that. And I don't think people can fathom the idea of how lonely of a life these men live. Like absolutely lonely, just depressed people. And, you know, it's like I've met some of Justin's students. And some of them are, you know, he's a pickup coach. He's a dating coach.
I need to like look you up, Justin. But go on.
And some of his students, you know, they're virgins, and I'm meeting them, and I'm like, oh my, I can't even think because sometimes to me when I hang out with girls, it's not just sex. Like I say all the time,
you just want to be around the female energy.
like if it's just sex, you can get a prostitute and have just sex. It's empty, right? But to even have a female's attention, affection, you know, towards you, it's fulfilling. I think as a man, but for a guy that doesn't even have that. It's like they live in a whole other world that I don't think most people understand.
Justin, if I can ask you candidly,
Sure.
do you have
Into
any?
the microphone, please.
Yes, sorry, I keep not speaking.
It's okay,
into
it's
the
fine.
microphone. It's not normally my jam.
No, I get you.
How do you have any close female friends?
Definitely.
Like good friends, like people that you
Yes, I do.
completely open up with?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, sweet, cool. No, just because I work with a lot of men who don't have female friends, and their female friends are acquaintances. It's their friends girlfriends. That's it. And yeah, so I'm not trying to like frame you. Yeah, I was just yeah. So I kind of got a bit lost there, but
I'd imagine as a club promoter, you have to have a lot of female friends.
Yeah. So typically,
Yeah.
I bring out 200
it's not-
300 girls a weekend to party with me, and I'm not sleeping with all the girls, but a lot of them I end up hooking
Not
up
all
with.
of them.
But most of them are just friends of mine, but it's cool because it gives me constant access to meeting new women. Yeah.
Right. Like it is what it is. Like men need to release. Like I don't know. I don't know why that's such a hard thing to comprehend.
No. And I would agree with you. And I would say that is, a biological factor that we can't really account for. But I think also in terms of like when you talk about loneliness and when you talk about them not having really that nurturing energy to be around, I think that's also something to focus on as well. Is the reason they resort to aggression or violent tendencies is largely because they probably don't have a nurturing side or that feminine energy that is nurturing, right? Which is kind of like, encouraging them to, be more soft, I want to say. That's kind of like the feminine influence. It softens things, right? And if you don't have that around, then you're more likely to resort to violent tendencies. And I don't necessarily think that sex is the only way to be able to deal with aggression. If
Soft
that makes
men
sense.
don't gain respect.
I disagree with that.
Soft men
What do you
don't
mean
gain
by
respect.
soft men? What do you mean by soft
Soft men don't gain. Women don't respect soft men. Society doesn't respect soft men.
Well, what do you mean by soft men?
Define
though?
soft.
Feminine men do not
Feminine.
gain respect.
Again, what do you mean by
Beta men
feminine?
do not gain respect. Men.
What do you mean by that?
Okay, so men that are forthright within their views,
Yeah.
men that are stern, men that are logical, men that are authoritative,
Yeah.
gain respect.
Of course.
Right.
But
okay,
also,
so soft
I
men
would
don't
say,
gain
but
respect.
there's an emotional intelligence required in there as well, which I think would still count as, logical minded. It's just emotional intelligence, I would say, is more of a feminine aspect that we all have within us, right? We all have emotions, we all have a feeling side, and being able to understand that is integral to be able to managing yourself, managing your impulses, like your aggression, right? If you can understand why you feel aggression, you're more able to manage it. And if you're not how to do that, then what are you supposed to do?
But I think you're looking at that from a woman's point of view.
Okay.
And so I'm saying like that's not how men are respected in society typically.
But do you think that's a byproduct
There's
of
a
society
reason
that
why-
we built, right?
I think it's just like you can't undo biology and
Right.
it just is what it is.
But
And I just think we should stop trying to change the way people are.
But you can undo biology. There's epigenetics, right? Your DNA is constantly shifting and changing based on the environments you're in, right? You constantly respond to your environment, right? Your brain can constantly change. It's constantly like neuroplasticity, right? You can change your biology, right? And it's about what we're fed. You say society is, that's the way it's set up. Yes, I agree. But I think there's a better society where we can teach.
But I
that
just
emotional
think who are you to say like how we should be? And that's what I'm saying. Like,
I'm not
like you're
trying
trying to.
to say-
I'm saying we've gotten to this point through like thousands of years of evolution and like societies being built, and now we're saying F it and let's change it completely.
I'm not saying we haven't made mass developments and that sort of thing, but I think, there's a better way. I'm not saying that my, word is gospel or anything like that. I think it's worth talking about though, when we live in a society where a lot of people are struggling. A lot of people are struggling to survive, right? And it's not the best society for everyone. And if we truly want to incorporate everyone's best like interest into society and make sure that everyone is understood and accepted and loved,
you know what we should
then
do? We should bring back virgin girls because that would give the best outcomes.
Why?
Because like the best outcomes is a family. Societies are built off of families.
But families,
structure.
families can be different.
Is it good for society and people in general to have baby mamas left and right? Is that good? Is that good for a family? Is that a healthy situation for a kid to grow up in?
If you have people who aren't understanding, who aren't compassionate, and who aren't able to provide love, then no, I would say it's not a good society. But I think our society is.
Do you think in general, general,
women
like wait, can I just say, would you say in general, it's good for a kid to be raised by a single mother? In general, just yes or no?
I would say that
yes or no.
This is kind of relevant.
No, I know, but I just need.
I think it can be. It just depends on the community that's around them.
It can. Okay.
It really doesn't.
It does.
Even though that puts a kid at
kid.
even though that puts a kid at every statistical disadvantage, they're more likely to run away from home. They're more likely to drop out of school.
Because we live in a system that doesn't support single mothers, doesn't support people. How do
you
live in a divided system?
Okay. How do you not support single mothers when if you get pregnant you can have an abortion and you get free housing if you get pregnant.
I think housing
if you're a single mother
is a
and you
basic,
get government benefits.
Those are basic human rights, though.
Right,
the right
but
to be able to live.
That
right?
doesn't happen to men. They're just homeless. They're just homeless.
So then I see an issue with that too. I think we all deserve compassion, and we deserve to live in a society where everyone has their basic human rights met.
Right, but I'm saying who pays for it? Who pays for it? Like,
that's a conversation we need to start having. It's a conversation we genuinely need to start having if we want everyone to live at a certain standard and actually be able to live.
And then how do we like, why do I have to pay for someone who made poor decisions? Like, if you chose to be a single mother, I didn't choose to do that. I damn well could be pregnant right now. Like, why do I have to pay for someone else's bad decision? You made that decision. And like, oftentimes we try to take accountability off of women and we stop them from facing the consequences of your decisions. Like, that was a decision you made.
No, and I agree. I think everyone should have accountability, but that we also can't place blame on people.
But that comes with accountability. It's blame.
But when you place the blame, right, working out how we could make a better system.
Like, accountability is saying that was my fault and taking blame. So, like, even earlier when they were being accountable, they were saying, yeah, I'm taking the blame.
So collectively educating people to not make those decisions, right? To make decisions.
No, I think women are educated. We just choose not to. I mean, you know what you're doing when you have sex. You know when you're ovulating. You know if you're on birth control or not on birth control. You know all of these things and you make a choice.
I would say the way we are educated maybe is kind of the wrong focus, because we're not educated around emotional stability. We choose men who leave, or we choose men who aren't going to stand up, because like you said last time that we choose to ignore red flags, right? And I said there's a lot of factors that go into that, right? And we aren't really taught, about how our relationships with our parents or how our, primary relationships really govern the relationships that we choose, right? And so a lot of us go through that kind of space, not being aware of what we're choosing. And I'm not saying that removes accountability. I say you have to be accountable, but if we can create a system that teaches people about these dynamics, we can stop that from happening.
I think women know we just don't care. I mean, I have sat down with friends and said, yo, here's red flag number 1. Here's red flag number 2. Here's a PowerPoint on why this isn't going to work. And women, we don't care, because when we like a guy, we just see no evil, hear no evil.
Right.
And if you end up in a bad situation and you get pregnant by that guy, like, it doesn't matter. Women don't care.
As a matter of fact, last time when you were on the show, I read a bunch of statistics as to when it comes to single mothers, right?
But then
hang on. I read a bunch of statistics as to why single children born of single mothers are at statistically a disadvantage when it comes to homelessness, when it comes to prison, when it comes to adoption, when it comes to all of these things. And still, even with all the statistics, people find a way in which to justify a reason to become a single mother, right? And it's like, when you speak, I'm not saying that, what you're saying isn't valid. I'm saying, regardless, after you speak, the statistics are still there.
But I would also,
they are still there.
But like I said last time, I would say there are other factors that go into that. There are factors with the system, right? People living in poverty, people living in circumstances that they aren't able to properly give support to a child, right? And I'm not saying that society has to step up and necessarily support that. I think we should live in a more collective and collaborative society where everyone puts in the same amount of effort.
I think I should have $5 million in my bank account, but I don't.
I don't think that's relevant to what I was saying, but fair enough. I hope it happens.
You think, but the reality is different.
Yeah,
do you know what I'm saying? So the reality is different.
But how can we shift the reality if we don't think ahead to the way we can do things better, the way we can support people better, right? How can we change the world we're in to help people live if we don't think about that, if we don't have these conversations? I would say by
taking accountability for your decisions and saying, don't sleep around with men you don't want to be fathers with. I'm saying like, take accountability for your lot in life. Hey, if you get pregnant and you're a single mom, no one's bailing you out because that's a poor decision.
Yeah.
Like I think that would remove even we had this grandma on here, Auntie Jenny, and she was saying like people in her day would get pregnant because they wanted to move out of their house and the government got them a house.
That's in my day.
Yeah. Oh shit.
In my day, women would get pregnant just so they can get a flat, just so they can get an apartment. Because UK government would give you an apartment if you were a single mother.
And I think you have a really positive worldview where you think maybe people won't take advantage of that, but they do.
No, and I'm aware of that, and I do know that I have a very I'm aware of that within myself. It's not whimsical. I'm working on grounding it, which is why I enjoy being in spaces like this, because it helps pull me out of that. But I don't think it's impossible to be able to build a world like that. And I do agree that people will take advantage of it, right? But it's about getting to a point where they don't have to take advantage of it, where we can educate people about accountability and making better choices, right? But we have to also bring compassion and understanding before we do that. Understand why people are in these situations so you can shift it.
So what happens when you educate people and they don't care? So I'll give you I'll give you an example. Yeah. So I have a relative. Okay, I'm not gonna. Sometimes my family's watching these lives, so I gotta be more broad.
Don't call them out, bro.
Now, sometimes I be a little too specific in my stories, and I hear back. I have a relative, and she is someone who will probably be homeless and on the street. And the reason is because she is a single mom, and the reason is because she made poor decisions where she was an alcoholic for years and stole from every relative until everyone was sick of taking care of her. Yeah. And so it's like, why does she need to get bailed out? Because she makes poor decisions. She robbed all of us.
And I agree, right? Again, accountability is
what led to those decisions. I don't know. Her brother.
Trauma.
That's what I mean. And that's what I'm saying. You have to understand this. And I'm not saying it's not an excuse, right? They still have to take accountability for it. That people who have mental health episodes, who you're awful to people, still have to take accountability for that. But if you can understand the root of it, you can begin to shift it, right? That's generational.
You can understand the root and still take accountability. And by dealing with the consequences and having no one bail you out. Like my dad grew up in the same home. He grew up to be a multimillionaire with 10 kids and a beautiful family. And so it's like same house. And that's what I'm saying. You don't have an excuse. She doesn't have an excuse. She had the, yeah.
I have a very similar family situation. Funnily enough, it's actually sorry.
I
have a very similar family situation where my dad was someone who built himself out of that situation. He made better choices and he provided me the life I had because he made a decision to get out. And the rest of his family didn't really do that. And I've seen that, right? And I understand that, but I still think they deserve compassion for what they've had to struggle with, right? Some people are predisposed to making bad choices, and but just based on reactivity to certain things that happen.
But there's a difference between compassion. I can say I understand. But I don't think it's compassionate or kind to bail someone out of a bad decision and allow them to keep doing it. Like in this situation, I think that relative would have stopped if people stopped bailing her out. And while initially it seems kind and compassionate, it allowed her to use everyone for years. And if someone cut her off from the beginning, she may have had a better outcome.
Right.
Sorry.
Tennis, back and forth. I want to kind of go back to the initial question I asked about men being hoes. And Justin, was you Justin?
Yep.
You were saying that men can't be hoes, right? As a woman, do you understand why a man can't be a hoe?
Based on the conversation that we've had and the way that you look at it, yes. But I would say that I look at it a bit differently, but because I don't apply that same
Guys,
success.
Could you explain why men can't be hoes?
No, I understood your explanation. I get it, right? It's success because you have to work so hard to sleep with so many women, so therefore you're not a hoe because of the effort you have to put in. I get it, right? I don't equate success with how many people you slept with.
Do you also get that women generally want men with sexual experience?
I think it depends on the person, to be honest. I think personally, I prefer someone with sexual experience, probably. Exactly. But I also would be with someone without sexual experience if we connected. It just kind of depends on what the vibe is, you know?
Do you think that women want a man with sexual experience or no sexual experience?
Yeah. It's not like a trick question. It's
it's an honest question, yeah.
But I do think it's possible to also be with someone who doesn't have sexual experience, just because that's my preferred, because that's what I'm.
A lot of things are possible.
Yeah, go on.
Where does this even come up? In that, do you go, oh, hey, I've met this girl, I'm gonna maybe sleep with them. Oh, how much experience? They're gonna go, oh, how many girls have you slept with? Oh, what's the transaction?
I think it's conversation with every girl I sleep with. I actually ask almost every single girl I meet and hang out. I'm just out of curiosity.
Do you put a lot of weight on that? So if a woman has slept with a lot of men, do you say, okay, I'm not going to sleep with you just because?
No, I personally, I love women who, in general, and I definitely like hoes, but I won't date them.
Why?
Because I don't want a woman I'm going to be emotionally committed to have all this emotional baggage from a past relationships.
So it doesn't necessarily this is kind of what I was trying to say before. It doesn't have to equate to emotional baggage if a person chooses to acknowledge it and take accountability for the fact that they slept with a lot of people, right? You can step out of that. People can change their habits.
Would you say in general it does? In
think
general, like
probably-
a girl, like we had Linda on the show.
Linda, yeah.
Bro, this girl is so cute and innocent.
She's 20 and a virgin.
Yeah, like she's the cutest, sweet. Like
she was on the last show.
And what's her Instagram for research?
and like you could tell she had no baggage, no trauma. Like every like joke anyone would say, like it would just go over her head because she was so innocent. You just don't get that with girls that have slept around a lot. Like you can even if you don't know their body count, like you can kind of just tell because they're more damaged.
People can have damage without having slept around. One,
That's true.
you can have emotional baggage without it being related to how many people you slept with.
You're right. You're correct. You can. But I'm saying in general,
Yeah.
would you say that the virgins tend to have less baggage than the people that did OnlyFans?
I say they probably have other baggage.
Well, what would
That's what I mean. Maybe less sexual baggage, right?
I like your
But-
reactions, but you need to learn to articulate them. Like this is, I love it. I love
Because
it.
this blows my fucking mind.
Why?
Like,
Why?
Because this is all like I would not even consider any one of these things a prerequisite or a parameter for like someone that I would potentially enter into a relationship or have intimacy with, or like it's completely fucking foreign to me. Excuse my language.
No, it's fine. You can swear.
It's just completely foreign to me. I would not. I don't understand it. I've been in polyamorous relationships. I've been I just don't understand it. It just like I would never even be like, oh, hey, we're like hanging out for the first time. How many people have you slept with? Like it just wouldn't even come into my brain.
How often are you meeting new dating partners?
Like fairly frequently.
So you're not communicating with them?
What's that?
You're not like communicating with them?
But
Getting
why?
to know them?
Yeah, of course I am.
But I think the point is more that like body count isn't really a part of
When you
what
say
they value in
when you say
communication,
polyamorous
right?
relationships, are you saying that you're in a relationship where the woman that you're with can sleep with other men?
Yeah, I've been in open relationships. Plenty. Like
That was
plenty
actually my
times.
question. I was
Yeah.
wanting to,
I
just wanted to
thought that
clarify.
was-
Yeah. I'll gladly clarify that.
So the
yeah.
woman that you're with is actually cool with sleeping with other men.
Well, like
You're cool with it.
Well, it's not particularly in this. But,
No, not in this moment, but you've been in there.
Yeah, many times. But it's also meant that I've been able to sleep with other people as
So
well.
do you know what a cuckold is?
I know exactly what a
Yeah,
cuckold is.
that's what that would be.
Yeah,
So
no.
you've been a cuckold.
No, that's not
No, 'cause
exactly.
it's an agreement
because it's
between-
completely consensual
Yeah.
and it's completely with boundaries in place.
Do you have any preference, just out of curiosity?
In terms of what?
Whether you guys have an open relationship or just a committed relationship?
I normally prefer an open relationship.
So you prefer her being able to sleep with other guys?
And me to be able to sleep with other people as well.
No judgment on it. I'm just curious. Like it doesn't matter to you. She comes home, she got railed by 3 different dudes. And then she comes back and says, baby, I love you. And I'm just like,
But I think
kisses you and all that.
If that's her choice, then
and
yeah.
I think as well with that it kind of allows for sorry.
Yeah, like
speaking to Mike.
my masculinity isn't that fragile. I'm like
I don't know how much masculinity you have after a woman you're allowing your woman to get penises from somewhere else.
Sweet. How do you define masculinity?
Men are territorial creatures.
Are they?
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
And if my woman,
Yes. Your woman. Your possession.
I'm,
Your possession.
I'm a territorial individual.
Yeah. So you claim your woman. You own her.
If the woman that I have
Yes.
stated that this is mine is going to tell me that she's going to go and get a penis from somewhere else, and she can just go there.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You're not going to come back, but you can go. And I'm saying
Maybe.
I would say that the majority of men, I think that I would be okay in saying the majority of men would not want their woman being dicked down by somebody else.
Maybe that's a case of your own masculinity being a little bit fragile. Then, if you
it's biology. Like we said,
no, it's not biology. You keep using that term,
it's
but
biology.
I just think men don't like wifing these hoes. Like, come on.
It's okay to sleep with them, just don't date them.
I said wife. It's like, okay, because you are your habits. So I wouldn't want to date a guy that's cheated on every single girlfriend that he's ever had. And so I can understand why a guy wouldn't want to date a girl that's been sleeping around for 10 years because it's going to be hard to one day stop. And I honestly feel the same way a little bit about guys because if a dude's been sleeping around forever, what are the odds I'm going to get him to settle down?
Right.
And so like I can understand where guys are coming from.
You just guys put some really fucking weird parameters.
I'm just saying the woman that you're letting go out and sleep with other men, she's not yours. She's not your woman.
Of course, she's not mine. I don't own anyone.
So she's
I'm
for
not
the
a
streets.
fucking no. She's her own autonomous individual person. Like she's not my possession. you seem to be putting a lot of ownership onto your girlfriend. You seem to be acting like you should have a collar around her neck and she's your pet.
I mean,
some girls like that.
Yeah, some girls like that.
Yeah, and I'm not here for fucking kink shaming either. Don't get me wrong. But you're putting a lot of oh, she is mine. Whereas I'm saying no, this person that I'm with is their own autonomy.
If I was to get married to a guy, I would feel like I'm his.
Well, see,
genuinely, like, yeah.
I don't intend on ever getting married. I think the idea of marriage is quite strange, to be honest. So, like,
I get that it's not for everyone, but I don't really mind the idea of like belonging to a guy. I actually kind of like it.
Of course, and that's your own pejorative, isn't it? But like, but do you want a guy specifically saying that they control you and that you're?
It's not. I
think there are levels, but I would like a guy that could lead me and make decisions for us, and I would really like a guy that I could trust to make decisions
with your consent as well, though.
With
your consent on top of that.
Well, like, it's submission.
Not to just force their.
Well, I think all of the guys are like, they want a guy or girl, not a guy, a girl that wants to follow them. It's not like they want a girl that doesn't want to be there.
Of course, but
I'm saying, like, if I was with a guy and he wanted to have an open relationship on both ends, I would be concerned. I would think like, what? Yeah, because I would trust your judgment, because I just think that's bad judgment on a guy's part. No offense, like, you know.
Do you think a woman actually respects you if she's taking penis from somebody else? Like, if she's taking a penis from elsewhere and she's coming, do you think she actually respects you?
Can we ask the girl maybe? I'm actually curious to get your take on this. If you're dating a guy, let's just say if we're dating a guy and he says, "Baby, I love you. You're everything I ever wanted in a girl. Like, you're perfect. Your body, your smile, the way you treat me, everything about you is perfect. But if you want to go out and fuck other guys, I'm totally cool with it."
So
how would you take that?
Well, this is an interesting question.
And I'm actually okay with your belief system. It's like, to each their own. It's not the norm.
Yeah.
So it's probably weird to hear, but if teach their own. Everyone can have their own beliefs about. Oh, I'm sorry.
So are we talking about me personally?
It's a bit
Like
it's
my
a bit
personal.
to me. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit cuckold to me.
You can describe to whatever you like.
I'm curious what you're gonna say. Go ahead.
It's an interesting question to ask me right now. I've always really valued the idea of monogamy. And when I was like 19, I fell in love with someone. And it was not a healthy relationship. It was pretty toxic, but I really love the idea that we were each other's persons. So I really believe in that. I believe that I have a person out there who I'm going to be a team with, right? And I believe in the masculine and the feminine dynamic, right? I do believe in that. I've considered the idea of polyamory before.
Right.
Just based on the fact that when I met this person, I thought I would never connect to anyone as deeply as I could connect to him, right? And that was more spiritually, emotionally, that sort of thing. And since then, I've met a lot of people that I've connected emotionally and spiritually to, and it's not always been sexual. Sometimes that's just friendships and that sort of thing. But I realized that the depth of connection I can have with people isn't really limited to one person. I still have an idea that I believe I have my person, but I think I could entertain the idea of an open relationship.
Would you prefer it?
This is where I'm at right now. I actually don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know. It's still something I'm trying to figure out, because I do, like I said, I value the idea of, like, I want a family. I want to have, I want to be a mom. I want to have a kid. I want to have a very strong family dynamic. That's kind of something I see for myself. And I don't know if an open relationship would necessarily be conducive to that, based on what society kind of says, right? But I also believe that a child can be raised in a happy environment regardless of the parameters of the relationship with the adult, as long as they're loved.
Forget what society says.
I think
if you meet a man, right, and he loves you and you love him, he's going to not generally, he's not going to want to you're not going to want to loan your vagina out to somebody
and
else.
this is why I don't know if I'm polyamorous, because I don't like the idea of someone I'm with sleeping with other people. I'd want to be that, we choose each other, right? And we commit to each other, and then we would grow and build whatever from there. I kind of like I don't know if this is getting TMI, but I like the idea of bringing someone else into the relationship. And
but like a girl or a guy?
I'm whatever.
Guys, can the mother of your child loan her vagina out to somebody else?
I don't have any children, but I would predict no for me.
Guys?
Absolutely not. No chance.
What do you mean loan your vagina out? It's not a fucking transaction.
It may as
What
well.
if she gets pregnant?
It may as well be.
What if she gets pregnant? It's
You're
not my
a
child.
unique individual.
Like this,
You are a unique individual.
yeah, I know.
I love it. It's great TV, by the way. I'm not gonna lie, it's great TV. But I'm just saying, like, would you be okay with the mother of your child in a polyamorous relationship with you?
Yes.
What if she gets pregnant with another man's child? That's a good question.
If she has consented, to, like then, like,
Would you raise the child?
I was raised by a stepfather.
So you would raise the child?
Yeah. So I was the male that raised me, my alpha, it was not my biological father. So what
Well,
difference?
society needs that. Society does need men to raise other men's kids in certain circumstances.
Well, and this is so when I saw something like I think it was a post or something about a lawyer who was like a divorce lawyer, and he was saying to this couple that what if my kids have to grow up with two sets of parents, and they said, well, a kid can never have enough people to love them, right? There's always more people that can love a child and help them grow, right? Kids are raised by a village, right? And the more people that love them,
but they do need biological.
But the problem is
not necessarily. They need a strong masculine figure, yes, and that can manifest in different ways.
I will say that one problem is that I can't remember the stat off the top of my head. I'd look it up, but my laptop died. They took it. But it's like when somebody is a single parent, the most likely person that is going to sexually abuse them is someone they bring into the house in a relationship. And so you're putting your kid at risk. And I know everyone thinks like, oh, it wouldn't happen to me. Like I would vet them better, but you just never know.
That's what everybody
and
so then I would bring it back to saying that's probably the exception and
that's
not
the
rule.
biggest of slippery slope
in terms of that context, because I think if we go back to like properly vetting someone and properly making proper choices, right, you have to consider the kids, right? And that's if you do that, then you're probably not taking that into account.
I agree with you. I do think it's the exception, not the rule. I don't think that every single step parent is abusing the child, but the point is you're still putting that kid at risk for abuse. You're putting them at risk. They're more likely to run away from home. They're more likely to
be on the streets.
Yeah, to be on drugs. Like it's
to
like every
have mental health issues.
Every statistical advantage that you could put a kid at, you're putting them at in a single parent home.
Right.
And
to be in jail. It's statistics. You can laugh and you can sigh.
And even
are what they are.
And you can quantify all your statistics as much as you like, but you're still just throwing random numbers that don't actually have any statistical analysis.
I can even tell you like just anecdotally and so just from talking to people day to day, like I have 9 siblings, same 2 parents. We adopted 3. And like when I talk to people that come from single parent homes about like my family's traditions every year, like I've never seen like such like they want that so bad. It's really sad. Like they've never experienced like no, sorry.
I'm laughing at something else. Sorry.
No, it's sad though. Like they've never experienced like Christmas with both parents together. Like and then all the traditions we do, like we do pictures with Santa every year. We do like an Easter egg hunt. Like family's really big, and I just see like the loss that someone's at when they didn't get to grow up with 2 parents, and I just wouldn't wish that upon anyone.
But I think again that comes down to 2 parents, yes, but also having adults that love you, right, and adults that are a team that can raise you, right, because that's a big family and you have traditions, but you can have traditions in lots of different family dynamics, right? In a polyamorous relationship where a team comes together to raise a kid, you can still build traditions, and it's just a bit of a different dynamic.
But I think it's better. Like we kind of did have a team raise us because like we had help. And we also had like relatives that stepped in. My grandma, like I could name you a long list of people that helped and stepped in. But I think it's better when it's like in the family. And it's
what's the difference between a community that you build and a community that's biological? Like
I would say it's like more vetted. And so like because you're going around people that have known each other for years. Like and
more vetted. That like
I would argue because family members are family members are they can be that person who sexually abuses. It is possible for that to happen, right? That's not going to happen. You're correct,
but I would say that it's easier to like, how do I put it? Like everyone knows who the weird uncle is. Everyone knows exactly. Everyone knows who the weird uncle is in the family, and you keep your kids away from the weird uncle. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but just anecdotally would guess that it happens at a much lower rate when it's family than when it's random people that you've met.
I don't know if you'd be able to.
Can I just say, because I want to go back to something that you said. Because I said that children need 2 biological parents, and you said that they don't.
Yeah.
Right? How do you reconcile that a child who was born of 2 people doesn't need those 2 people? How do you reconcile? Like, how do you say they don't need that?
How do you mean?
If that's how they came into the world.
So my entire existence, I was raised by someone who wasn't my biological parent, and he's my father, and he's
Was you raised by? Was your mother there? Your biological mother? Was
my
she
biological mother was there, yes, okay. And I was raised by my stepfather, who wasn't my biological father, and I've had 4 sisters. 2 were from a relationship prior to him being with my mother, and then he had 2 sisters. Like, he had 2 daughters with my mother, and he was. Do you
know your biological father at all? You do.
Yes, I do.
So you don't have a relationship with him, or something?
I don't have a massive relationship with him, but I've had we're not. I don't dislike him. I don't like
as a child. If we go back to your childhood,
yes.
Did you want to know who your father was?
I knew him. I did know him.
Okay.
Yeah, like so it's not a case.
But you were lucky. You had someone step in. You did have 2 parents in the home.
Yeah.
But I'm saying not every kid is that lucky.
Yeah, but like,
and you had a good stepfather.
Of course, but that wasn't the argument that was put to me.
But you already knew him. So imagine you didn't know him. You don't think that children want to know their biological parents?
Well, so like until I was old enough to be able to actually like with my human brain quantify that he was like what the difference was between my stepdad and my real dad, I didn't know, did I? And then I was introduced to that, and I was explained the dynamics of that situation, and I was able to comprehend all that, and I've grown up pretty damn fine as far as I.
You think?
Yeah, I might be. I might be confusing to you, lads.
No, you definitely confusing to me.
Yeah. But you know, like I know I'm not normally down with the podcast. Fucking.
No, I hear you, but it's good to like engage, but.
But like the point is, you were lucky. You had a good stepdad.
Yeah.
But that's not every kid.
Right.
Of course, but what
I'm saying who has a better incentive that a kid turns out good than both of the biological parents? Who has more incentive to make sure that kid turns out okay?
Well, my biological dad wanted to have me aborted, so
that happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm saying,
did he tell you that?
Yes.
He told you that he wanted to have you aborted.
Yes.
You don't think that?
I confronted him about it.
Yeah. You don't think that had an effect on your psychological at all?
No, because I'm not a fucking idiot. Okay. I'm well aware that sometimes things happens in life, and you like circumstances are out of our control, and sometimes I know if like
your biological parent told you that they didn't want you here. You don't think that had an effect on your psychology at all?
No. Lots of other things had effects on my psychology, but I don't think that did.
I don't know your life. Okay, I'm just gonna say okay.
Yeah. No. I came here to challenge these ideals.
No. I hear you. I'm okay.
Yeah.
If you say so.
I'm doing my job. I'm doing my jam.
Do your thing, man. Do your thing. Pearl, we're gonna have to wrap up soon.
Yeah.
So we might have to read the rest of the super chats.
All right, I'm sorry.
You probably got about 1,000.
Yeah, let's see how they're going.
Let's see what they're going to say.
Don't shoot the messenger.
So it makes me another run.
Okay, KCF Sack. Shout out to King Richie's in the chat, waiting for your reaction to this cluster F. Shout out King Richie. Wizard Ape. Facts. As embryos are exposed to endocrine distributors in the womb, men can be born with shortened distance of the taint correlation with the men having decreased testosterone. Not all men are the same. Draco Malfoy is PMSing. V Jokers.
Is that me?
I'm 35 years old and I've never met my dad. Trust me, it sucks as a man. Bowsy, I can tell the middle simp loves Andrew Tate. Marc Purdue. The statistics for step parents are comparable to single parenthood. In some cases worse. It has to be when they're 4 or less. Wizard Ape. The wall and feminine urge for monogamy are a reproductive urge. Feminism will trick you into breaking your ability to pattern bond, and you'll instead fall into a loop of failed relationships. Mosen, 1938. In polygamous situationships, do you meet the other sexual partners, and do you ask your sexual partner to get tested regularly? 90 free
polyamory, not polygamy. Sorry, I interrupted. Sorry.
Polygamy. I don't know.
Polyamory and polygamy are very different.
That's just what they wrote. 90 free to pay ball, dude. You don't see women as your own because you don't have a plan for the future. No legacy, no history, no purpose. You are chained to your base desires. Alita of Rock and Rolla. In 2020, there was 1 million abortions. Pearl, if you even prevent one, that is priceless. Thank you, Zentience. To the cuck in the middle of the couch, you are not masculine. You lack boundaries and deluded yourself into being feminine. She is sharing her most intimate parts with other men, and thus nothing she gives you is intimate or private. She's not special. Marriage causes divorce. Blonde guy is very smart. Marriage is weird. Wizard 8. Beta male doesn't have the same sexual standards as the physically and mentally dominant men next to him who do. Poly relationships are for women. Check the definition of cuck again. 90 free tope. Sarah, tell her she's being whimsical again. Gus, modern women cause sexual and relationship attraction. Men and women are not the same. The majority of men who don't want other men to F their wife or their girl. Bawsy, dude in the middle gets pegged for sure. The UK Economist, it's simple. A financial provider would typically care about her body count. Lower earning men who want a 50-50 relationship wouldn't care. Sentience, the redhead always brings up exceptions to the rule rather than being introspective and genuine. She is disagreeable to the point of being argumentative and masculine enough to have narcissistic levels of needing to be right. The wanderer, no cap. I have a girlfriend that insists I open up emotionally. I did it. It felt good. I won't lie. But a few months in, she admitted she found me less attractive. Wizard 8. Ape. Communism uses idiots to gain a foothold for big government to support displaced people, then take from the working class and creates a system where small businesses individually fail. Sentience, the delusional redhead 304 is emphasizing equity rather than equality. Having equal outcomes regardless of effort quickly shows that people don't have to strive to do better because the outcomes are the same, thus preventing innovation or progress. NAS 009, Red is talking about the indoctrination of the woke agenda. The savvy ninja. The system this girl is seeking is called the Bible. If you read and follow even 60% of what it says, you would save yourself from a lot of pain. Zentience, oh look, delusional redhead is back. You want to undo biology? The statement is ignorant and arrogant. Claiming housing is a basic human right shows you lack knowledge of what a right versus privilege is. Shelter is a need, not a right. Armstrong, housing is a basic human right. WTF, go to my laws in the Philippines and say that. You're going to be laughed at. Food, shelter, and companionship are earned, not owned. Kilton Daniel, ain't not but about accountability. I don't know how to pronounce this username. 86. This fake redhead yet again doesn't think logically or even realistically though. LMAO, Pearl, I love your content. Wizard 8, Pearl, you make me want to be a better man. When can I get in your show and ruthlessly hit on you? How is Cheryl? Matchmaker here. Bakers get with bakers, etc. Pearl's archetypes are administrator, entertainer, innkeeper, mad scientist, ish, helper, warrior, tech, competitive, innkeeper, entertainer. Pearl's match would be Rosenberg type. Ish's would be a Jamela. I have no idea what you just said. Jeremy, any man who wants to attain a highly disciplined life needs to practice no fap. MJ Teeves, I would suggest that single mothers raise men that women don't want. Most of the kids today are products of single mother homes. It's empowering to disregard entire future generations for your liberation. Zentience, men should not have female friends unless they are gay. Then focus on female relationships is wasted. When a guy said he should focus on himself and self-improve to the point of finding a sexual partner. Okay, guys, I can't go through all of these. So
you have to, bro. That's what you're supposed to do.
Oh gosh. Okay, I'll do a couple more. Bro, just shave it off. You're almost there anyway. Kendrell Scott. Geez, I never heard of blue balls before. Men needs a release medically. Young Lex, how is it so hard to understand that a human being who isn't having a basic sexual need met isn't unhealthy, let alone a man with 50 times more testosterone? Kilton Daniels. They are not getting experience the warmth of a glazed donut. Marriage causes divorces. Both men and women can be 304s, but a man 304 is a highly successful. A woman 304 equals baggage, trauma, daddy issues, and a low sexual market value. Bluntly speaking, prison is an example for Sarah's point. Guys and girl prisons can turn out by the same gender in a matter of months. Harvas 207, boxers without sex get aggressive. DC 081, to the woman in red saying right after your statements to the woman in red, saying right after your statements in an argument doesn't mean you're correct. Secondly, please remember the bra. Mosin 1938, question for the panel. What would be the effect in the West if we adopted the concept of dowry? Kilton Daniels ran through with a semi-truck trailer hitch, choo-choo. Bawsy, dude in the middle took the comments well. If only his hair was as thick as his skin. Zero fallout. Trust me, bro. I've slept with a lot of women. NH, to the guy that contradicted himself with the story about his dad wanting him to be aborted and his mom choosing to keep after saying it's absurd, to the argument that women have more power. C Blue, the most beta guy on the panel, the guy on the couch, put your socks on. Oh, okay. I think that's all of them.
We done?
I think there's going to be more, but you just go around, do final thoughts.
Listen, guys, girls, ladies, females, whatever you choose to be called nowadays. Yeah, let's get some final thoughts before we finish.
Based on the topic, or
based on the topic, yeah.
Anything you want to speak? Some of the super chats, you can speak your piece.
Chat,
any final things you just want to get off your chest. Now is Mike's
Now's
yours.
the time.
Yeah. I believe that if we work to kind of understanding where people come from when they are in certain situations that make them want to sleep around, that make them want to do certain things, I feel like we should just accept that people are on their own journeys. This is not what I want to say. I feel like I got put on the spot a little bit there.
All right,
you could be last if you want. We could go around.
Rewind and come again.
Yeah.
Right now? Let me.
All right.
Let's do that, and then
go to you last?
yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, go on.
Oh God, no, I got nothing either.
You got nothing to say?
Not really. No. It's been an interesting little conversation we've all had, and
and we can agree to disagree too.
Yeah, we can agree to disagree. It's I've appreciated it.
Fair enough.
My apologies if I've at all been.
Do not apologize. You're yourself. Go on.
I just wish we had more time to talk. I have so much to say on a lot of these topics, and I didn't want to interrupt everyone else, but
you should have.
I just blow everyone away with all the stuff I'm going to say.
How long are you in London?
Till tomorrow.
I was like, you can come back tomorrow.
Come back tomorrow.
We fly out tomorrow evening or tomorrow afternoon.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
You'd have to do an extended cut right now, and then we'll just get everything out.
If you want to let people know where to follow you or anything.
Yeah, you guys can follow me on Instagram, Real Luis Mercado. It's pretty much, you find everything else from there.
Fair enough.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, to conclude, I don't think there's anything wrong with necessarily being a hoe. Just don't expect to get married. Don't expect to find a high value guy who wants to settle down with you. And just men in general tend to be more attracted to feminine, youthful women who don't have a lot of baggage. Yeah. And if you guys want to follow some of my content, I have a YouTube channel where I talk about a lot of this stuff.
I'm going to follow you.
Yeah, it's just my name, Justin Marc, M-A-R-C, Justin Marc. I also have a podcast, actually. It's called The Wingman Podcast. If you just YouTube search The Wingman Podcast, I talk about a lot of these concepts. And thanks for having me, guys. So my Instagram is DrunkJustin2, so you guys can follow me there as well.
We can go back to you because you said you didn't want to.
Yeah, so I am fully aware of the fact that sometimes I can be a bit whimsical in my views, but it is genuinely because I want to see a society that works towards the best for everyone. And so the reason I enjoy being in these spaces is to have these conversations to kind of try and figure out how we can do that. And I don't believe that is through dictating the way other people can live their lives. I think there's a lot of ways that we can build a successful society, and we have to allow people the space to find their own roles. Mm-hmm. And I think the issue is that we're forcing people into spaces, and so that then they act out as a result of being restricted. So I'm really grateful to be here. My band is releasing our song in October.
What's your band?
It's called Glass Bridges. Glass Bridges probably sounds different in an English accent. Glass Bridges UK.
Glass Bridges.
That's the one. Yes, that's it. Okay. We'll be releasing our first single in October. And then also I'll be releasing some of my own music at the end of the year as well. So you can follow me at I am Simona Cutafani, if you can spell it. again,
I'm just gonna say, listen, if you have watched 2 or more of our videos,
Tell them.
and you haven't subscribed, then we have what?
Beef.
What have we got, Pearl?
Beef.
Okay, so if you haven't done that, do it right now. Follow me at Sarah Garvey on all social medias. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm gonna let Pearl close out the show.
Okay, guys. You already know, go subscribe to our 2 Clips channels that we have going. I think we're going to do a 3rd Clips channel too this month, so watch out for that. Also, don't forget to sign up for our memberships. We let everyone in the chat today, but we will be turning it to members only next stream. You also can do our 2nd tier, which you get our first behind the scenes look at the penthouse, which is cool, right?
Yeah. This is a nice place.
Yeah, it's nice.
You'll also see we had a little housewarming party, so there's like a vlog coming.
I should post that on my YouTube actually.
Not until I put it on the members.
All right, fair enough.
Chill out.
Okay.
Also, 3rd tier, you get to connect with us on social media. 4th tier, you get a one-on-one call with me once a month. This can be used, if you want advice, or if you want to start a YouTube channel, I can also help you with that too. So one-on-one call once a month. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I think this stuff keeps dying today, but I think we hit 350 subs this stream. So
That's awesome.
So don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video on your way out, and we will talk to you next time.
Peace.